DeMarcus Cousins' weird claim. Rick Carlisle, a respected coach with a championship under his belt, apparently had a recruiting style that was not exactly out of the textbook. According to DeMarcus Cousins, Carlisle tried to bring him to Dallas with a method that felt less like an NBA pitch and more like something you'd send to a middle school crush. Cousins said Carlisle sent him selfies. Not videos breaking down schemes, not pictures of rings or trophies. Selfies. And these weren't just photos with the thumbs up or him at the gym. Carlisle reportedly included messages like, "I'm thinking about you and I really want to coach you." Cousins described the whole thing as weird. And considering this came from a guy who's seen just about everything in the league, that says a lot. This wasn't a light recruiting touch. Carlisle was direct, emotional, personal, but it didn't land. Cousins said he was turned off by it. He even admitted to leaving Carlisle on red. That's stone. It's cold. At the time, Cousins was still a dominant force in the league, a legit all-star with serious power on the court. Carlisle, meanwhile, was still holding down the Mavericks sideline long after bringing Dallas their title. But this wasn't a basketball move. This felt like a FaceTime gone wrong. The whole interaction became public later on, and multiple outlets confirmed Cousins' version. They all highlighted how strange it was to have an NBA coach slide into a player's inbox like that. No formal pitch, no agent call, just a selfie and a wish. Cousins didn't reply, didn't bite, and never wore a Mavericks jersey. Whatever Carlisle's plan was, it went straight into the ghost zone. Dennis Schroeder versus Luka confrontation. It happened after the Lakers beat the Kings 125-101 at Crypto.com Arena on December 28, 2025. Things boiled over when Dennis Schroeder, who was on his 10th team in 13 seasons, left the Kings locker room about 40 minutes after the final buzzer and spotted Luka in the tunnel. What followed was not your standard post-game handshake moment. Schroeder walked right up to Luka and made it clear the trash talk from earlier wasn't forgotten. He reportedly told Luka he couldn't call him a B word on the court and then act cool afterward. According to league reports, Schroeder tried to strike Luka, which got him suspended for 3 games without pay. Luka didn't retaliate. He was described as stunned and eventually left the arena with his dad, while Schroeder was taken to the Kings team bus by security. Tensions had built up during the game. Luka was caught on microphones taunting Schroeder about that massive contract he famously turned down when he used to play for the Lakers. Luka told him, "Should have signed that contract, baby." That hit a nerve. The deal was reportedly worth $82 million over 4 years, and turning it down followed. Schroeder for years. DeAndre Ayton had to step in during the hallway face-off, reportedly trying to drag Schroeder away before security fully separated them. The league doesn't usually release the name of the other player involved in incidents like this, but this time, the details got out. With emotions high, personal jabs flying, and Schroeder's response going physical, the fallout was quick. He missed 3 games, including a rematch with the Lakers. It all started with words on the court and ended with security in the tunnel. Marty Supreme, viral Knicks actor. Luke Joseph Manley wasn't chasing acting gigs when the internet dragged him into the spotlight. He was just another loud Knicks fan caught on camera during a playoff game in 2021. But thanks to a Side Talk NYC video, his rant about Trae Young blew up across Instagram and TikTok. And next thing anyone knew, he landed a movie role. That clip wasn't planned. Manley didn't script a thing. He just showed an up, yelled about the Hawks, and the world responded. Online, he's known as Lukey Lunchbox and Patrick Ewing, and the internet ate it up. Those usernames became attached to New York sports memes and chaotic Knicks energy. And apparently, it worked. Casting director Jennifer Venditti and filmmaker Josh Safdie saw that viral moment and decided Manley was perfect for a role in their movie. Safdie didn't want polished Hollywood types. He wanted raw voices, real New Yorkers. Manley checked all the boxes. He plays Dion Galanis in the sports comedy Marty Supreme, which dropped on December 25th, 2025. The film stars Timothée Chalamet and includes big names like Gwyneth Paltrow and Tyler Okonma. But Manley's casting brought something different. He had 0 acting experience, but Safdie saw authenticity. That's what landed him the role. The movie itself is inspired by table tennis legend Marty Reisman, but spins a fictional story around it. It premiered in secret at the New York Film Festival and came out wide on Christmas Day. Manley's not just internet famous anymore, he's a credited film actor now. He still lives in New York's Hudson Valley and works as a cable dispatcher. But yeah, he's also in a major movie, from a playoff rant to the big screen, all because he yelled loud enough in the right jersey at the right time. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, Trae Young traded mid-game. On January 9th, 2026, the Atlanta Hawks pulled off a shocking move by trading Trae Young to the Washington Wizards for C.J. McCollum and Corey Kispert. While a game was still being played, the Hawks were facing the Pelicans at State Farm Arena, and Young, sidelined due to a sprained MCL, was sitting on the bench in street clothes. He wasn't just in the building, he was still courtside when word of the trade hit. That's when things got surreal. Cameras captured Young hugging teammates, shaking hands with staff, and even acknowledging fans as the second half played out. People in the arena realized what was happening while the scoreboard was still ticking. It wasn't a post-game farewell or a locker room announcement. It was a live, unfolding goodbye during an NBA game. By league rules, trades can be announced mid-game if the paperwork clears before the deadline. And in this case, it did. So while fans watched the Hawks run plays, their star player was technically already a Wizard. The arena responded in real time, some cheering, others stunned. Hawks players and coaches were visibly reacting too. This ended Young's nearly 8-year run in Atlanta. He had been the 5th overall pick back in 2018, became a 4-time All-Star, and led the franchise in key stats. But with Atlanta struggling in the standings and Young's injuries piling up, the team decided to move. Washington, sitting near the bottom of the standings, saw Young as a long-term piece. And just like that, he was headed to a new team, even before the game clock hit 0. The mid-game nature of it all made the trade one of the most unforgettable scenes of the entire season. Lou Williams' robbery story. On Christmas Eve in 2011, Lou Williams found himself in a situation that started like a crime drama and ended more like a bizarre holiday special. While sitting in his car in the Manayunk neighborhood of Philadelphia, a man walked up and pulled a gun on him. Williams, at the time, a key bench player for the 76ers, was caught off guard, like anyone would be. But what happened next is what made this story NBA legend material. The would-be robber recognized him, not just as some guy in a nice car, but as Lou Williams, the professional scorer, 6th man of the year, and apparently someone worth admiring even in the middle of a felony attempt. Instead of going forward with the robbery, the man told Lou he was a fan. That alone was enough to change the entire mood of the moment. Lou didn't just thank the guy and drive off. He offered him money and took him to McDonald's. Seriously, he treated the man to a meal after they came up with a solution. As Lou later put it, there were no punches, no arrests, no dramatic standoff, just an armed encounter that ended with fries and possibly a soda. In interviews later, Lou confirmed the man drew a weapon, but the gun went away. Once recognition set in, it wasn't fear that ended it, it was admiration. The story's been told ever since as one of the weirdest, most human NBA moments off the court. At the time, Williams was in his mid-20s, still in the middle of his run with Philly, and already building a reputation as one of the league's most reliable scoring guards. Turns out, he was also capable of de-escalating with nuggets instead of fists. Cody Williams -60 game. On January 10th, 2026, Cody Williams of the Utah Jazz made the kind of history no player wants on their resume. In a blowout loss against the Charlotte Hornets, Williams posted a -60 in the plus-minus column, the worst single-game mark in the entire NBA this season. To put it plainly, while he was on the court, the Jazz were outscored by 60 points. That's not a typo, 60. Just for context, the previous worst mark this year was -58 by Scoot Henderson. So yeah, Williams went ahead and beat that, or technically, lost to it. The plus-minus stat measures point differential during a player's time on the floor. Positive means your team outscores the other team while you're in. Negative means the opposite. And -60, that's not just a bad shift. That's what happens when everything collapses while you're standing in the middle of it. Williams wasn't riding the bench either. He played over 30 minutes. That's more than enough time for things to spiral. And spiral they did. The Hornets built massive leads early and never let up. By halftime, Utah was already buried under an avalanche of buckets, and the second half just iced it. The Jazz couldn't get stops, couldn't find rhythm, and somehow, Williams was on the floor for nearly every disaster sequence. No other player this season has posted a minus this extreme. Blowouts happen. Plus-minus can be noisy, but when you're the statistical outlier on a record-setting night for all the wrong reasons, it stands out. It doesn't mean Williams was single-handedly responsible. It just means the Jazz were catastrophically bad while he played. And unfortunately for him, the numbers remembered everything. Chamberlain and Baylor's 141-point game. On December 8th, 1961, the Philadelphia Warriors and Los Angeles Lakers faced off in one of the wildest shootouts in NBA history. The final score, Lakers 151, Warriors 147, after 3 overtimes. But it wasn't just the length of the game that made headlines, It was the fact that Wilt Chamberlain and Baylor combined for 141 points. Chamberlain dropped 78. That alone was the second highest single-game scoring performance in league history at the time. He also grabbed 43 rebounds, played 63 minutes, and shot 31 of 62 from the field. From the free throw line, he went 16 for 31. The man was basically a human stat sheet. On the other side, Baylor wasn't exactly quiet. He scored 63 points, grabbed 31 rebounds, and dished out 7 assists. That's not just filling the stat sheet, that's rewriting it. Baylor's total was one of the highest scoring nights ever recorded at the time, and the fact that it happened while going head-to-head with Wilt made it even more legendary. When you add those performances together, you get 141 combined points. That's the most ever scored. Oh, by 2 opposing players in a single NBA game. This wasn't one of those games where stats sneak up on you. Everyone in the building knew something ridiculous was happening. It took 3 overtimes to settle it, and both stars stayed in the entire way. At the time, there was no internet to melt down over, but this game still echoes in NBA history books. 2 all-time legends at their peak, trading buckets, boards, and records for over 60 minutes. It wasn't just a game, it was a one-night, offensive explosion. Jay-Z Zahir G League journey. Joseph Raji, Jay-Z Zahir, born July 1st, 2004, is a 6-foot guard from Fenton, Michigan, and also the nephew of Detroit Pistons owner Tom Gores. That connection alone makes his path through pro basketball unique. But unlike most high-profile prospects with family ties to NBA executives, Zahir didn't dominate in high school or college. He played at Powers Catholic in Flint, averaging just over 4 points per game as a senior. Then he bounced between Eastern Michigan and Bowling Green, where he saw extremely limited action. Across 7 games with Bowling Green, he averaged less than 1 point in about 4 minutes per contest. In 2024, Zahir declared for the NBA draft. He stayed in, went undrafted, and entered the G League as a developmental player. That fall, he signed with the Delaware Bluecoats, the affiliate of the Philadelphia 76ers. Minutes were scarce, stats even scarcer, but he made his professional debut during the 24-25 season. Heading into the next year, Zahir was selected 31st in the G League draft and picked up by the Birmingham Squadron, the Pelicans affiliate. The trade also involved the returning rights to Daryl Morsell. That move shifted Zahir from Delaware to Birmingham, where he continued fighting for playing time. Statistically, he's logged minimal production. No major scoring bursts, rebounds, or assists to report. But what makes his story stand out is the rare link between an NBA owner and an active G League player. It's not something seen often in pro basketball, and it adds an extra layer to an already unusual development path. He's not a headline star, but his journey, undrafted, undersized, and under the radar, still continues inside the NBA's official developmental system. The G League grind doesn't care about your last name. Bulls versus Heat postponed for condensation. On January 8th, 2026, the NBA postponed the Chicago Bulls versus Miami Heat game at the United Center due to a bizarre issue: condensation on the court. The tip-off was scheduled for just after 7 p.m., but even before that, players and coaches started pointing out the floor felt slick. Arena staff tried everything: towels, blowers, mops, but after nearly 2 hours of effort, the surface stayed dangerously wet. Officials, both coaching staffs and the NBA, ultimately agreed to call the game for player safety. Miami head coach Eric Spoelstra backed the decision, saying his players felt the court wasn't safe. Fans inside the building were not thrilled. Boos echoed through the arena as the announcement came down. The Bulls quickly stated tickets would still be valid for whenever the game gets rescheduled. So how does this even happen inside an NBA arena? Turns out Chicago was dealing with warm, rainy weather that day. Combine that with humidity and the fact the United Center had hosted a hockey game the night before, and you've got the perfect setup for unwanted moisture. The arena's temperature shift, humid indoor air, and the underlying ice from the Blackhawks game all played a part. As fans entered and the temperature rose, the hardwood floor started collecting condensation. Players noticed it during warm-ups. Some reportedly slipped. Multiple inspections followed. Nothing worked. After an hour and a half of mopping and drying, nothing changed. So the league shut it down. Postponements like this are rare. Most are due to power issues or travel complications. This one, it came down to water on the court, not from a leak, but from the air. It turned into one of the strangest scheduling moments in recent league memory: Bill Kennedy injury incident. During the first quarter of the January 9th, 2026 game between the Philadelphia 76ers And the Orlando Magic at the Kia Center, veteran NBA referee Bill Kennedy went down with a non-contact injury to his right leg. He was running near the baseline during a fast break and suddenly pulled up, visibly limping. The play didn't involve contact. He just stopped, grimaced, and motioned for help. Medical staff from the arena responded quickly. Kennedy couldn't put weight on the leg and was soon placed into a wheelchair. He was taken directly to the officials' locker room and did not return. With Kennedy out, the game continued under a two-man crew. James Williams and Michael Smith handled the remaining officiating duties. Kennedy, age 59, has been officiating in the NBA since 1996 and has worked more than 1,500 games. He's become one of the league's most recognized officials, especially known for his rule breakdowns during Coach Challenge reviews. His on-camera presence made him popular among fans, and when the injury occurred, support poured in fast across social media. The diagnosis? A hamstring strain. Reports say he'll be out indefinitely, but there's some optimism he might return before the regular season ends. Still, no timeline has been confirmed. The incident quickly went viral, not just because of the injury, but because of who it happened to. Kennedy isn't just another face in stripes. He's a well-known, respected veteran with nearly 3 decades of experience. The scene at the Kia Center was unexpected. Referee injuries are rare, especially non-contact ones that require a wheelchair exit. But that night, Kennedy became the story. A long-tenured official sidelined in the middle of a routine play, with the league now waiting on his recovery. LeBron and Bronny James, scoring record. Right now, they sit at the top of the NBA's all-time father-son scoring list, and it's not even close. LeBron James, already the league's all-time leading scorer, has racked up over 41,000 career points. Bronny, drafted by the Lakers in 2024, added to that total in his rookie season, making their combined point total the highest ever for a father-son duo. That puts them ahead of every legendary pair before them, including Kobe Bryant and Joe Jellybean Bryant, who previously held the record with 38,895 combined points. LeBron and Bronny didn't just beat that total, they blew past it. And sure, most of that mountain is built by LeBron himself, but Bronny's presence makes it officially a duo. This isn't just about numbers. LeBron and Bronny also made history by becoming the first father-son pair to share an NBA court. That happened in October 2024, a moment that was years in the making and once thought impossible in a league where most careers don't even last a decade. Bronny's selection by the Lakers wasn't just symbolic. He's actively playing and contributing points, meaning this record isn't frozen. It's still growing. Other father-son combos like Dell and Steph Curry are still climbing the ranks, but no one else is touching 41,000. And since LeBron keeps adding to his total as well, the gap's only getting wider. The James family didn't just make history, they're still rewriting it, bucket by bucket. A record like this doesn't come around often. It takes 2 generations, elite, longevity, and a little bit of basketball destiny to make it happen. George Mikan played with a broken wrist. In the 1949 BAA Finals between the Minneapolis Lakers and the Washington Capitals, Mikan suffered a broken wrist during Game 4. But instead of sitting out, he suited up for Game 5, cast and all. Not only did he play, he dropped 22 points with that cast on. Imagine trying to shoot, rebound, and fight for position with one working wrist in a championship series. He did that. The Lakers lost that game, but Mikan's decision to stay on the court became one of the earliest examples of all-time basketball toughness. He didn't limp into the spotlight. He ran straight through it, broken bone and all. Then, in Game 6 back in Minneapolis, the Lakers sealed the title. Mikan, still hurt, still casted, helped secure that championship. This was before the NBA even existed. The league was still called the BAA, the Basketball Association of America, and it wouldn't merge into the NBA until the following season. But Mikan was already the guy, the dominant center of his era, the one who drew double teams before double teams were cool, and the one they literally had to change rules for. The cast wasn't some symbolic gesture. He wasn't out there for inspiration. He was putting up real numbers in a real finals game. 22 points with a busted wrist. That's not grit for the cameras. That's just who Mikan was. This story is one reason why he's remembered as one of basketball's first true superstars. The guy didn't just play through injury, he played through a broken wrist, scored like nothing was wrong, and walked away with the title. Before there were highlight reels, there was George Mikan with one good arm and zero interest in sitting out. NBA Cup playoff pattern. Since its debut in the 2024 season, the NBA Cup has crowned 3 champions, but the first 2 had rough playoff follow-ups. The Los Angeles Lakers won the inaugural cup in December 2023. Then, a few months later, they were bounced in the first round of the playoff. The next year, the Milwaukee Bucks won it. Same result, first round exit. That back-to-back pattern sparked a wave of hot takes, jokes, and early theories about a so-called NBA Cup curse. Win the cup, lose in the first round, 2 for 2. So naturally, people started watching the next winner closely. That would be the New York Knicks, who claimed the 2026 NBA Cup. But here's the thing, the playoffs for that season haven't finished yet. So anyone claiming every cup winner ever loses in round 1, they're jumping the gun. The NBA Cup, officially called the Emirates NBA Cup, is a mid-season tournament, kind of like a quick-cut championship sprint before the actual playoffs roll around. Group play, knockouts, title game in December. It's a bonus trophy, not a finals ring. But now, with 2 early examples ending in postseason flops, fans are watching to see if this thing's cursed or just coincidence. It's too soon to make it a full-on trend, but right now, the numbers are 2 for 3 cup champs and 2 for 2 playoff flameouts. That could change, depending on what the Knicks do. What's factual? The Lakers and Bucks both won the cup and then got eliminated in the opening round of the same season's playoffs. What's not factual yet is that every cup winner ever does. The Knicks still have a chance to break the pattern or extend it. Stay tuned. Lakers Showtime Gold jersey ranked number 1, according to ESPN's list of the top 74 jerseys in NBA history. The Los Angeles Lakers' iconic Showtime Gold uniform was named the best of all time. Worn primarily from 1978 through 1999, this bold gold jersey with purple numbers and white drop shadows became the visual symbol of an entire basketball era. This was the jersey Magic Johnson wore while running the fast break, the one Kareem had on while dropping skyhooks. James Worthy, Byron Scott, the whole Showtime crew, all of them made history in that gold mesh. ESPN's panel called out the jersey's flashy but timeless look, saying it perfectly matched the team's up-tempo, high-energy style. It wasn't just about color, it was about dominance, swagger, and identity. Behind the Lakers at number 1, ESPN ranked the Boston Celtics' classic green jerseys in second place, and the Chicago Bulls, Road Red, in third. That top 3 is pure basketball royalty, but the Lakers look stood above the rest. The Showtime Gold jersey isn't just remembered for how it looked, it's remembered for what happened in it. Titles, rivalries, unforgettable runs. That's why it landed at the top of the list, and why it still defines an era decades later. Miami Heat started in the Western Conference. When the Heat joined the league as an expansion team in the 1988-89 season, the NBA placed them in the Western Conference's Midwest Division. Yes, Miami, Florida, Western Conference. Geography clearly took the season off. They were grouped with teams like the Houston Rockets, which was somehow their closest divisional opponent and still nearly 1,000 miles away. It wasn't a map-based decision. The league was expanding fast, and to balance team numbers in each conference, Miami got a temporary Western address. That first season, the Heat competed as a Western Conference team, even though every single thing about them screamed East Coast, but it only lasted a year. By the 1989-90 season, the NBA moved them into the Atlantic Division of the Eastern Conference, where they've stayed ever since. So yes, despite being one of the most recognizable Eastern Conference franchises today, the Heat technically started their NBA life playing out west. It's one of those weird footnotes in league history that sounds made up, but it's true. Miami's first year featured long road trips, lopsided rivalries, and a division that made no sense on a map. Classic expansion team problems. Keandre Ashley's NBA leap. On August 20th, 2025, Keandre Ashley, the face behind the YouTube channel Hoop Intellect, announced something that completely shook the basketball content world. The guy who built his name online by dissecting players and breaking down draft prospects had just accepted a real scouting role with an NBA team. And not just any team. Based on his social media, it's the Boston Celtics. The same organization that's racked up championships and banners now had a former YouTuber stepping into their war room. Keandre shared the news on X, calling the opportunity a blessing and thanking his longtime supporter. But that was only part of it. He didn't just throw up a quick tweet and vanish. He hopped on YouTube, where it all started, and told his audience exactly how this dream became real. For years, he'd been putting together detailed breakdowns of prospects, dropping videos that gained a loyal audience and real traction in NBA circles. It was the grind, the eye for talent, and the consistency that turned heads. This wasn't a guy with some gimmicky basketball channel. He was crafting full scouting reports before players even declared for the draft. His channel, Hoop Intellect, focused on real scouting, deep dives into tendencies, strengths, and upside. Not clickbait, not hot takes, just pure basketball analysis, and it caught the right eyes. Now here's where it gets wild. This shift from independent creator to an official role with a franchise isn't just rare, it's borderline unheard of. Usually you need connections, a front office internship, or to play the political game. But Keandre carved a whole lane out of content. His videos weren't just for fans, they became references for people inside the league. That kind of credibility doesn't happen overnight. So when the Celtics made it official, it felt like the ultimate payoff to years of focused work. He's not some fanboy who got lucky. He's someone who turned his own evaluations into a professional job at the top level. It proves that if the work's legit, the league's watching. And now, Keandre's watching players not just for content, but for real decisions that'll shape a franchise. It's a massive move, and one that might open the door for others trying to make the same leap from online breakdowns to big league defense rooms. Malik Monk's minimum bet. When the Lakers signed Monk before the 2021-22 season, they got him on a veteran's minimum contract. That's one of the lowest amounts a team can legally pay a player with his years of experience. It wasn't because he'd washed out or disappeared. Far from it. Teams had seen his upside. There was talk that he could have made somewhere between $5 and $10 million that offseason. But instead, only two teams showed real interest. The Lakers and the Mavericks. And somehow, the Lakers got him for the lowest number on the board. That minimum deal turned out to be one of the best values on that entire Lakers roster. Monk didn't just show up, he produced. He became one of their most consistent scoring threats, hitting career highs in points and knocking down threes at a strong clip. In a season where the offense felt completely disjointed and the lineup was a revolving door, Monk was one of the few bright spots. He brought energy off the bench and gave the team actual offensive rhythm when so many others couldn't. But that season was a mess overall. The Lakers finished the year outside of the playoff picture entirely. Even with LeBron James and Anthony Davis on the floor, the team never found real consistency. The supporting cast didn't gel, the defense struggled, and the record dropped fast. Monk's production wasn't enough to save the season. When it ended, the team was out of the postseason, and the questions about the roster only got louder. Monk's time in Los Angeles lasted just that 1 year. After proving he could score efficiently and contribute on a big stage, he hit free agency again. But this time, his stock was way up. Sacramento stepped in and offered a real bag, a 2-year deal worth around $19 million. That's a huge leap from the veteran minimum he took the year before. It showed how much his 1-year gamble paid off. That contract with the Kings locked him into a more stable role, and most importantly, paid him like the player he'd become. The Lakers didn't match it. They had limited flexibility, and Monk was ready to take the next step. His bet on himself paid off in full, from a minimum contract that barely caught headline to a featured scorer who cashed in. And while the Lakers were left trying to retool again, Monk had secured a major win. That single year in purple and gold didn't result in playoff glory, but it did set him up for a serious payday. Tom Lubin's unexpected NBA pipeline. This chemistry professor from Cypress College, a small community college in Southern California, somehow helped launch the careers of two dominant NBA big men. And no, this isn't fiction. It all started with Swen Nader. As a freshman standing 6'11", Swen had size but zero basketball background. He'd immigrated to the United States as a kid and barely touched a ball. He tried out in high school, but the coach had no time to develop a project, so Swen gave up. Enter Tom Lubin, not a coach, not a scout, just a chemistry professor who had an eye for potential and a stubborn streak. He saw Swen walking around campus and basically said, "You're tall, you're playing." Swen didn't exactly jump at the chance. He needed convincing, but Lubin kept at it. He worked with him, taught him the basics, and actually got him onto the team. 2 years later, Swen had grown into something special. Not just height, but touch, footwork, rebound. Enough that UCLA wanted him. At UCLA, he became Bill Walton's backup, which sounds like a sentence to ride the bench forever, but it didn't hurt him. By the time he left, he joined the ABA, immediately became one of the top rebounders, and turned into an all-star. Once the ABA and NBA merged, Swen did it all over again in the NBA. Again, one of the best rebounders. Again, an all-star. All from a guy who wasn't even playing before college. Then came Mark Eaton. This one's even wilder. Lubin took his car in for repairs, just minding his business, and in walks a 7'4" mechanic. Yeah, 7'4". Lubin probably did a double take before asking the obvious question. Eaton hadn't been playing basketball either, but once again, Lubin gave the pitch, and once again, it worked. Eaton joined Cyprus, and just like Swin, spent 2 years developing his game. He didn't become Kareem overnight, but he didn't need to. He learned positioning, shot blocking, how to use that massive frame. After Cyprus, he headed to UCLA, and eventually, he landed in the NBA with the Utah Jazz. That's where he really exploded. He led the league in blocks several times and still holds the record for the most blocks per game in NBA history, 3.5. That number is ridiculous, even without tracking from the Wilt and Russell era. So here's a chemistry professor, not a coach, not even in athletics, who's directly tied to two of the greatest big men stories in the league. Both went through Cyprus. Both got their start because Lubin saw something no one else did. No recruiters, no highlight tapes. Just one professor with a ridiculous knack for spotting giants and helping them become legends. LeBron James versus Lance Stevenson. This was one of those matchups where the rivalry didn't need hype. It built itself. Their clashes in the Eastern Conference playoffs from 2012 through 2018 had just enough chaos to keep fans locked in. The first spark, that choking gesture from Stevenson after LeBron missed some free throws. And that set the tone. Stevenson made it his personal mission to poke, prod, and irritate. And LeBron, at least at first, refused to give it attention. That didn't stop anything. It only got weirder. By 2014, the ear-blowing moment dropped into NBA history like a prank at a job interview. Stevenson leaned over and literally blew into LeBron's ear during live play. It didn't earn him a foul, but it earned him a permanent place in highlight reels. He even said later that he regretted it, not because of LeBron, but because of the memes. Yeah, fans really ran with that one. And it wasn't just that. Stevenson tapped LeBron's face, played rough, drew technicals, and even got shoved by LeBron in 2018. That series had both of them reacting, verbally and physically. And referees were on high alert. They definitely didn't fake the tension. Stevenson called LeBron's trash talk weak. LeBron called Stevenson dirty. And sure, neither of them said it was personal, but those games got heated. The crazy part, they ended up as teammates on the Lakers. Stevenson said he thought it was funny. And honestly, same. No long-term drama, just playoff energy that boiled over. Shaq versus Kobe, two of the biggest names in basketball, sharing one court, but rarely the spotlight. From 1996 to 2004, they were the heart of the Lakers, reaching 4 finals and winning 3 straight titles. But behind all that dominance, things weren't exactly peaceful. Both wanted to be the guy. Shaq brought power and presence, while Kobe lived in the gym and pushed himself past every limit. That clash of styles never really smoothed out. Kobe was obsessed with discipline. Shaq, not so much. Kobe called him out for slacking in conditioning, especially in 2003. That didn't sit well. Then came the legal tension. During Kobe's 2003 situation, he made comments dragging Shaq into it, saying Shaq had paid women to stay quiet. Shaq denied it, and that crossed the line. Things got way more personal. The locker room split. By 2004, players were picking sides. The Lakers had to make a choice, and they sent Shaq to Miami. But even after that, stories came out about practice scuffles and heated moments. They still balled out though, grabbing all-star spots and championships together. That alley-oop to seal a playoff series, legendary. Years later, Kobe apologized publicly for what he said. Shaq admitted the media blew some of it up, but also said they had real disagreements. They both look back with more maturity, even praising each other in interviews. No one denies they clashed, but no one denies they won either. 3 titles, 3 finals MVPs for Shaq, and a partnership that defined a decade, even if it nearly blew up the team along the way. Dwight Howard versus Van Gundy. This one wasn't just messy. It unfolded live in front of reporters. In April of 2012, Stan Van Gundy told the media that Magic management said Dwight wanted him gone. Mid-interview, Dwight walked up, put his arm around Stan, and said he never asked for him to be fired. Same press conference, same microphones, completely different stories. Then that night, Dwight had just 8 points and 8 rebounds against the Knicks. It didn't help the situation. Within weeks, Stan was out. The team also parted ways with general manager Otis Smith. Magic leadership later said Dwight didn't directly ask for Stan's firing, but they did acknowledge serious tension. Dwight later called that press conference the worst day of his life. No off-court fight, no name calling, just a total collapse of trust and communication. Around the same time, Dwight was in trade talks. He asked out, then opted into 1 more year, and then finally got moved to the Lakers. That whole stretch turned chaotic fast. And then there's Jeff Van Gundy, not Dwight's coach, just an analyst with opinions. In 2013, Jeff publicly called Dwight's Lakers behavior immature and passive-aggressive. He said Dwight's attitude affected the team, criticized his offensive game, and questioned his focus. That wasn't personal. It was professional analysis, plain and direct. Factually, Dwight never said he hated either of them. Stan said Dwight wanted him out, Dwight denied it, and the team unraveled. Jeff never worked with Dwight, but saw enough to comment. No punches, no screaming, no drama outside what's on record, just friction, frustration, and one very awkward moment with microphones that still gets brought up over a decade later. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, Patrick Beverley versus Russell Westbrook. This rivalry had real staying power. It started in 2013 during the playoffs. Beverley dove for a loose ball while Westbrook was calling timeout, and the contact tore Westbrook's meniscus. Just like that, his postseason ended. The Thunder had 60 wins, title hopes, and then lost their point guard. That moment stuck. Fast forward a year. Beverley went after the ball again during another timeout, and things got heated all over again. Technicals flew. Then came 2017, more confrontation. 2018, double technicals after Beverley dove near Westbrook's legs. Westbrook hit a bucket and mocked him with the rock the baby move. The crowd loved it. The tension didn't stop. In 2019, Westbrook waved goodbye after Beverley fouled out. Picked up another technical just for the sarcasm. Then came the quote. After a big game, Westbrook told reporters, "Pat Bev trick, y'all, man. He don't guard nobody." That one stung. Beverley said later that it hurt his career. People treated him different. Players, coaches, fans. He said it stuck to him unfairly. Over the years, they clashed in over 30 games. Beverley's teams actually had the winning record, but the rivalry wasn't just about wins. It was personal, emotional, and public. It wasn't just trash talk. Coaches and media all called it bad blood. Then came the twist. In 2022, they became Lakers teammates. At Beverley's intro presser, the only teammate who showed up was Westbrook. That shift told its own story. For a rivalry built on injuries, texts, and public shots, their handshake as teammates brought everything full circle. Joel Embiid versus Ben Simmons. This one played out in real time, on the floor, in press conferences, and across team statements. It started with that 2021 playoff loss. The Sixers were the top seed, but Simmons had just 5 points in Game 7. Embiid referenced a wide-open dunk Simmons passed up as a major turning point. That one play got talked about everywhere. Then came the holdout. Simmons refused to show up for training camp that fall and asked for a trade. He skipped games, practices, and meetings. The Sixers fined him more than $10 million, the most ever for a single player. The season got chaotic, fast. Embiid didn't hold back either. He called it borderline disrespectful, especially to teammates who were showing up every day. But at the same time, he denied they had personal issues. He said he loved playing with Simmons, didn't want fans or media to stir it up, and hoped Simmons would come back. Simmons, on the other hand, admitted they weren't close off the court, saying you're not cool with everyone, but still pointed out they had great moments together. In February 2022, Simmons got traded to Brooklyn. That ended their run as teammates. Later reports said Simmons reached out, trying to patch things up. There were no public insults, no personal attacks, no evidence of hate, just frustration, professional fallout, and some brutally honest interviews. Embiid wanted Simmons back. Simmons wanted out. The rift was never about name-calling. It was about basketball, expectations, and one giant standoff that never really recovered until it was over. Chris Paul versus Rajon Rondo. This one had history, hostility, and a mouthguard. It started in 2008 when Paul made the Olympic roster and Rondo didn't, even after winning a title with the Celtics. That left a mark. In 2009, Rondo rubbed it in by telling Paul, "I've got a ring, and you're never gonna win one." Yeah, things didn't exactly warm up from there. Then came the jaw-dropping moment in 2018. Lakers versus Rockets. After a scuffle broke out on court, Paul and Rondo exchanged words. Paul said Rondo spit on him. Rondo denied it, said he had a mouthguard in, and accused Paul of playing victim. Paul pointed a finger in Rondo's face. Rondo punched him. Paul punched back. The league stepped in fast. Rondo got 3 games, Paul got 2. That wasn't the first time they tangled. In 2009, both got texts for jawing at each other. Through the years, Rondo kept throwing jab, verbal, and physical. Paul responded with his usual intensity. Then came Rondo's immediate comment. He called Paul a horrible teammate and questioned his leadership. Paul never went after Rondo publicly in the same way, but made it clear the spit was a line crossed. They faced off 29 times. Rondo's teams won 15 of those. Stat-wise, Paul dominated. More points, assists, and steals. But Rondo had the edge in playoff win. Over time, the fire cooled. They both acknowledged the rivalry, and Rondo even admitted they had some similarities. But that Olympic snub, that fight, and that comment about the ring, that stuff doesn't vanish. It just fades with age, a few suspensions, and time. Russell Westbrook versus Kevin Durant. It started as one of the league's most explosive duos. From 2007 to 2016, they ran Oklahoma City together, making the NBA Finals in 2012 and stacking deep playoff runs. Durant once called Westbrook genuine, highlighting their shared work ethic. But behind that, there were signs of friction, especially as the offense tilted toward Westbrook's heavy ball usage. Then came the break. On July 4th, 2016, Durant left for the Warriors, a team that had just won 73 games. That decision sent shockwaves. He didn't give a farewell press conference. No heads up, just gone. Westbrook became the guy in Oklahoma City, and the media had a field day building a rivalry. Westbrook never publicly blasted Durant, but he showed how he felt on the court. Stare downs, high energy dunks, and statement games. But years later, Westbrook told reporters there was no beef, just media noise. They faced off dozens of times after the split. Durant's teams won more playoff games. Statistically, both showed up, and every matchup felt like something bigger than basketball. In 2018, sources confirmed they were speaking again. Durant later called Westbrook a brother, even while others like Kendrick Perkins said they weren't really close off the court. The facts are simple. 9 seasons as teammates, 1 finals trip, then a breakup that fueled endless debate. No insults, no public attacks, just a complicated history between 2 stars with the different styles and different destinations. The heat around their rivalry, it burned bright, but never fully boiled over. And time has cooled it into mutual respect, at least publicly. Michael Jordan versus Isaiah Thomas. This one didn't just stay on the court, it followed both players for decades. They faced off 65 times, and Thomas came out ahead in wins, 36-29. Even in the playoffs, Thomas led 12-10. But Jordan still dominated in the box score, averaging over 31 points in their matchups, while Thomas dished out 9 assists per game. The feud really heated up in the late 80s. Thomas's Pistons played physical, hard-nosed basketball, the infamous Jordan rules, designed specifically to wear Jordan down. It worked. Detroit knocked out the Bulls 3 years in a row. But in 1991, Chicago finally broke through and swept the Pistons. What happened next? Thomas and most of his teammates walked off the court without shaking hands. That moment stuck, and that wasn't the only early incident. Back in 1985, rumors spread that Thomas led a freeze-out during Jordan's first All-Star game. Both have denied it, but the story has never gone away. Then came the Dream Team drama. Thomas, one of the league's best point guards, wasn't selected in 1992. Many believe Jordan and others pushed for that. Rod Thorne later said Jordan never directly demanded it, but the tension was obvious. In The Last Dance, Jordan didn't hold back. He called Thomas an a-hole. Thomas fired back and said he'd only reconcile if Jordan apologized. Even in 2025, that sit-down still hasn't happened. This rivalry wasn't just about basketball. Thomas grew up in Chicago, and Jordan became the city's hero. That overlap only deepened the bitterness. And despite all the titles and accolades, this beef still lingers. Kevin Garnett versus Ray Allen. It started with a championship and ended in silence. Back in 2007, Boston's Big Three was born. Garnett, Allen, and Pierce teamed up and won a title in 2008. But 4 years later, Allen left in free agency and signed with the Miami Heat, the team that had just knocked the Celtics out of the playoffs. That decision didn't land well. Garnett said he took it personal. He told reporters he cut Allen off and didn't even have his number anymore. He felt it was betrayal, not just because Allen left, but because he joined a rival. Allen pushed back, saying it was a professional decision. He wanted another shot at a ring, and he got it, winning a second championship with Miami in 2013. From 2012 on, the silence between them spoke volumes. Garnett cropped Allen out of photos. Celtics events went on without Allen invited or mentioned. The beef wasn't loud, but it lasted. Even Allen admitted their personalities clashed in Boston. Small things like pre-game routines created tension. Years passed. Then life happened. Garnett said the death of Kobe Bryant made him rethink holding on to grudges. When Allen showed up to Garnett's jersey retirement, it was a moment people had been waiting for. And Garnett confirmed later, he let it go. No shouting match, no apology tour, just 2 players who built something historic, fell out, and eventually found a way back to mutual respect. That's the full arc. champions, rivals, strangers, and finally, teammates, again in spirit. Draymond Green versus Kevin Durant. It was a championship partnership with cracks beneath the surface. Durant joined the Warriors in 2016. He and Green went on to win back-to-back titles in 2017 and 2018, but things shifted fast the next season. On November 12, 2018, the Warriors were tied with the Clippers at the end of regulation. Green grabbed a rebound and pushed the ball up court without passing to Durant, who was calling for it. The play broke down, and cameras caught Durant fuming. What fans didn't see was what happened next. A heated argument in the locker room, one that reportedly went beyond basketball and straight into Durant's looming free agency. The fallout was serious. The Warriors suspended Green for one game without pay for conduct detrimental to the team. That wasn't the only friction. There had been earlier in-game disagreements between the two, including one during a matchup against Memphis the season before. The tension was real and persistent. After the season, Durant left Golden State for Brooklyn. He later said it wasn't just the argument that mattered, it was how the Warriors handled it. No real resolution, no accountability. That's what stuck with him. Green eventually spoke out too. He said the team should have let them resolve it themselves. Years later, both have reflected public. Durant admitted there was blame on both sides. Green said he has love for Durant, but their relationship is complex. They won together, they clashed hard, and the way it all unraveled became a turning point. Not just for them, but for the Warriors dynasty as a whole. Allen Iverson versus Larry Brown. It wasn't a rivalry, but it was a storm. Iverson, the number one pick in 1996, was the league's most electric guard. Brown, hired in 1997, was a Hall of Fame coach with a no-nonsense style built on discipline, structure, and practice. You can probably see where this went. From the start, their relationship clashed. Brown wanted defense and order. Iverson wanted freedom and buckets. Practices turned into battlegrounds. Brown publicly called out Iverson for missing them, and Iverson famously responded in a press conference by repeating the word practice over and over. That moment became a meme, but it was rooted in real tension. Iverson was grieving a friend's death, frustrated with the media, and feeling misunderstood. Brown, meanwhile, was trying to keep a young, rebellious team focused. Despite the clashes, they won. In 2001, the Sixers reached the NBA Final. Iverson won MVP. Brown got Coach of the Year. It was proof their chaos had a rhythm, but after that run, cracks deepened. Brown resigned in 2003 and went on to win a title with the Pistons the next season. Years later, both men looked back with respect. Iverson called Brown the best coach in the world. Brown said Iverson taught him how to connect with players who were different from him. They acknowledged they misunderstood each other at times, but never denied each other's greatness. The yelling, the tension, the practice rant, all part of a bigger picture. It was never hate. It was two icons pulling in different directions and somehow dragging a team all the way to the finals. Dennis Rodman versus Karl Malone. This one wasn't your average grudge. It came wrapped in rebounds, trash talk, and a random wrestling match nobody asked for. Rodman, the master of chaos, was all about defense and mental warfare. Malone, the tank in sneakers, just wanted to score buckets and crush souls in the paint. So when the Bulls and Jazz collided in the finals 2 years in a row, these two weren't just clashing. They were circling each other like bumper cars in a parking lot. Rodman got in Malone's face constantly, trying every trick in the book to throw him off. Verbal jabs? Check. Tangles on the floor? You bet. And yeah, the Bulls trusted Rodman to mess with Malone as much as possible, even though Malone was scoring more often than not. Their physical battles became must-watch moments, especially when they crashed to the floor in Game 6 of 1998. That clip gets replayed more than family arguments at Thanksgiving. Then came the plot twist. Pro wrestling. Rodman skipped the Bulls film session during the finals to hang with Hulk Hogan, and by July, he was tag teaming with him in a match against Malone and Diamond Dallas Page. Because sure, why not fight your NBA nemesis in spandex? Even wilder, Rodman said Malone once dated his sister for 3 years. So yeah, this rivalry had layers. But despite all the noise, both guys admitted they respected each other's game. Rodman was annoying, but effective. Malone was brutal, but consistent. Together, they made the kind of rivalry you don't forget. Not pure hatred, but definitely not hugs and high fives. Kobe Bryant versus Smush Parker. This wasn't a rivalry. It was more like a cold war in sneakers. From 2005 to 2007, they shared a backcourt on the Lakers, but apparently didn't share much else. According to Parker, Kobe never spoke to him, not once. Not during games, not on flights, not in practice. The one time Parker tried to make small talk about football, Kobe reportedly told him to earn some accolades before starting a conversation. Years later, Kobe didn't hold back. In 2012, He called Parker the worst and said he only made the team because the franchise was too cheap to pay for a real point guard. Parker didn't take that lightly. He later called the experience overrated and said Kobe's greatness on the court didn't excuse how he treated people. The vibe, not exactly warm. Parker's issue wasn't with Kobe's game, it was the personality. He said being treated like he didn't exist made him feel small, like he didn't belong. That kind of disrespect hit different when you're logging real minutes next to a future Hall of Famer. Other players, like Gilbert Arenas, offered context. They explained Kobe's expectations weren't just high, they were legendary. If Parker didn't match that drive, Kobe shut the door, literally. Despite all that, there was no physical fight, no off-court blowups, no dramatic reconciliation, just a locked vault of tension, with both guys standing their ground in interviews. Kobe had the rings, Parker had the stories, and somewhere in between sat one of the more unforgettable teammate dynamics in modern NBA history. Two very different players, one very icy locker room, Jimmy Butler versus Karl Anthony Towns. This one didn't stay behind closed doors. It kicked off when they became Timberwolves teammates in 2017, but by the next year, it was boiling over. The famous practice, Butler reportedly ran with the backups and still beat the starters, including Towns, then let the entire gym hear about it. That moment stuck. It turned into the defining image of a team that had talent but zero harmony. Butler asked out soon after. He wanted a trade, and while he said it was about winning, everyone could see the fracture with teammates like Towns was a huge factor. Minnesota sent him to Philadelphia in November. Behind the scenes, it was even messier. Reports said Towns told the front office he couldn't coexist with Butler if something didn't change. That says a lot. Former teammate Jeff Teague later said Butler came into that practice hunting for conflict just to prove a point. Towns has acknowledged it happened, but never dove too deep, often giving a lighter version when asked. Then came the rumors, mostly noise about off-court stuff that Towns shut down as fake. But the real tension? That was about culture and competitiveness. Even after Butler left, the spotlight followed. Whenever they faced off, fans watched for drama. And while they haven't had major run-ins on the court, the edge is still there. Towns has outplayed Butler in some matchups since. But the original conflict still defines how people talk about both of them. This wasn't just about basketball. It was two totally different mentalities that couldn't mesh. Intensity clashing with chill. And the fallout made sure nobody forgot it. Kevin Garnett versus Carmelo Anthony. The night of January 7th, 2013 is when it all popped off. The Celtics were playing the Knicks, and things got heated between Garnett and Melo during the fourth quarter. Both got hit with technical fouls after jawing at each other nonstop. But that wasn't the end. After the final buzzer, Melo didn't head out the normal way. He stormed through the tunnel near the visiting locker room, trying to confront Garnett. Security and New York City police had to step in near the team bus. The league took it seriously and suspended Melo for one game. Garnett, no suspension. Melo later said Garnett said something during the game that crossed the line. He never repeated the words, just said it was something a man doesn't say to another man. That's where the infamous Cheerios rumor came in. People started saying Garnett made a comment involving Melo's wife. Garnett denied it flat out later, saying he never mentioned anyone's family and called the story false. Still, the tension was real. Melo said he just wanted to talk things out. He claimed they did, and he held no grudge. Garnett brushed it off as part of the game and kept it moving. No punches, no long-term fallout, just a high-intensity standoff between two stars on rival teams. The Knicks and Celtics were already division rivals. Garnett brought fire, and Melo brought buckets. Put that in Madison Square Garden and mix in trash talk, and you get one of the more memorable NBA flashpoints of the decade. No lasting feud, but for one night, it got personal, and the whole league saw it. Paul Pierce versus LeBron James. This rivalry ran deep through the Eastern Conference for years. They went head-to-head 69 times, and LeBron barely edged it, winning 35-34. Pierce had the edge in regular season games, but when it came to the playoffs, LeBron's teams won 17-13. That playoff success tilted the balance when it mattered most. Stat-wise, LeBron outproduced Pierce nearly every time. He averaged just under 30 points with 6 rebounds and 6 assists. Pierce, by comparison, put up about 20 points, 5 rebounds, and just under 4 assists per game in their matchups. The numbers show LeBron's impact went beyond scoring. They faced off in at least 5 playoff series, and each one felt like a mini war. The rivalry heated up in the late 2000s when Boston's Big Three stood in LeBron's way year after year. The 2008 series between the Celtics and Cavaliers went 7 games, and it pushed LeBron to rethink everything about how he competed. Their battles weren't just tactical, they were physical, emotional, and sometimes downright tense. One infamous playoff clash even got LeBron's mom involved from the sideline. The intensity was real. And off the court, Pierce wasn't shy. He's praised LeBron's greatness, but also kept the debate alive in media, constantly weighing in on LeBron's legacy. That's what made this rivalry stand out. It wasn't built on hate, it was built on high-stakes competition, playoff history, and pride. These weren't just two players. They were Eastern Conference gatekeepers for a decade, and the razor-thin head-to-head record proves how closely matched they really were through the height of their careers. Magic Johnson versus Isaiah Thomas. These two started off as close friends, real ones. They greeted each other with a kiss before games, which wasn't about show. It was mutual respect. But when their teams collided in the finals in the late 80s, things started to crack. In 1988, Magic's Lakers beat Isaiah's Pistons in a brutal 7-game series. The next year, Detroit got revenge with a sweep, and the tone of their friendship changed. That tension only got worse. Around the time of Magic's HIV announcement in 1991, he believed Isaiah had helped spread false rumors about his health and sexuality. Isaiah denied it. He said he never said anything about Magic's private life and didn't even know Magic's agent well enough to have that kind of conversation. But the damage was done, and when the Dream Team was announced in 1992, Isaiah was left off. It's long been believed that Magic's issues with him played a role. For years, they didn't talk. Magic said he was hurt. Isaiah felt betrayed by the public accusation. The friendship that once lit up the league had faded into silence. But then, in 2017, they sat down face-to-face on live TV. Magic apologized. Isaiah broke down. They hugged. Years of tension dissolved. Right there on camera. Stat-wise, Magic had the edge in regular season wins, but Isaiah took more playoff games. Both were elite in their own ways. But this rivalry wasn't really about stats. It was about trust, conflict, and finally, reconciliation. It started as the league's most heartwarming friendship, turned bitter, and ended with tears, healing, and two legends finally on the same page again. Dwight Howard versus Kobe Bryant. This one had everything: finals history, locker room tension, on-court clashes, and regrets. Back in 2009, Kobe's Lakers beat Dwight's Magic in the finals, 4-1. It was a huge moment. Before that, Dwight had already been dunked on by Kobe as a rookie in 2004. That moment stuck with him. Fast forward to 2012, Howard joins the Lakers in a massive trade. Kobe's intense. Dwight, not thrilled. Howard later admitted he didn't want to join LA in the first place. The season had big names: Kobe, Howard, Nash, Gasol, but it never clicked. Kobe tore his Achilles. The team got swept in the first round, and behind the scenes, not much better. Howard said Kobe barely talked to him, even during a private flight to the All-Star game. He felt misunderstood. Kobe's energy was all business. Dwight wanted support. It didn't mix. Then came the real fireworks. In 2014, when Howard returned with Houston, they got into it on opening night. Dwight threw an elbow. Kobe called him soft. They jawed. Both got technicals. It was clear. The tension hadn't faded. Kobe kept calling Dwight soft in interviews after that. Howard, years later, said he didn't hold a grudge. He said the beef was blown up by fans and media. But he did say that Kobe's coldness influenced his decision to leave the Lakers, and he regretted how it ended. This wasn't a feud built on hatred. It was a clash of two totally different mindsets. Kobe wanted blood, rings, and sacrifice. Dwight wanted balance, fun, and respect. In the end, they never found a middle ground, and the basketball world remembers it. Carmelo Anthony versus George Karl. This one wasn't about a single blow-up. It was a slow burn that lasted for years. Melo was Denver's star from 2003, and George Karl coached him from 2005 to 2011. They made the playoffs every season together, but the chemistry, rocky from the start. Melo said their first real interaction had Karl calling him overrated. Not exactly a warm welcome. Karl's criticisms didn't stay behind closed doors. In his book, Furious George, he said Melo didn't commit to defense, was tough to coach, and didn't like sharing the spotlight. He even called him a user of people. That wasn't gossip. That came straight from Karl's own writing. He also doubled down in interviews, calling Melo an individualist who preferred scoring to team defense. According to Karl, getting through to Melo was a challenge. Melo's response, dismissive. When asked, He called Carl's comments irrelevant and said he only cared about what teammates and actual coaches thought. Still, he's admitted those comments helped shape how fans and media viewed his defense for years. So even if he wasn't shouting back, the criticism stuck. After Melo was traded to New York in 2011, Carl leaned into his critiques. He posted on social media, called Melo a ball hog, and made sure his perspective was known. Melo, for his part, stayed mostly quiet, saying he never had real beef and didn't think the coaching staff gave him direct feedback at the time. Their partnership lasted 6 years, no championships, just tension, public jabs, and two very different philosophies clashing behind the scenes. It wasn't personal warfare. It was a long, awkward divorce with receipts. Draymond Green versus Rudy Gobert. This rivalry didn't come out of nowhere. It built over years of Defensive Player of the Year debates and competitive tension. It started in 2017 when Green won the award over Gobert. Then Gobert won it multiple times after that, which only fueled comparisons and media debates over who deserved the crown as the league's best defender. And neither guy has ever been the type to shrug things off quietly. But the real turning point came on November 14, 2023. A fight broke out in a Warriors-Timberwolves game. Gobert stepped in to break things up, and Green ran over, wrapped Gobert in a headlock, and dragged him off the court. Both were ejected. The league hit Green with a 5-game suspension for escalating the situation. Gobert, Klay Thompson, and Jaden McDaniels were each fined $25,000. Gobert called Green's behavior clown stuff. Green didn't apologize, but said he needed room for growth. That's the most definitive moment in their rivalry, and it wasn't the first sign of friction. In 2019, Green mocked Gobert for crying after an all-star snub. In 2022, Gobert tweeted, "Insecurity is always loud." During the Warriors' internal drama with Green and Jordan Poole, they met again in the 2025 playoffs, and the narrative picked up right where it left off. Gobert said he respected Green's competitiveness, but stayed focused on his own game. Their styles couldn't be more different. Gobert's a quiet rim protector. Green's an emotional on-ball menace. But that contrast is exactly why this rivalry keeps getting attention. One headlock, a bunch of jabs, and a defensive battle that still gets replayed every time they meet. Isaiah Thomas versus Larry Bird. This was one of those rivalries that was more about basketball than beef. They faced off over 60 times in their careers, and Bird had the edge overall, winning around 40-23. But in the playoffs, they split it right down the middle, 11 wins each. And it wasn't just numbers. Their matchups were physical, strategic, and high stakes. One of the most iconic moments came in the 1987 Eastern Conference Finals, Game 5, final seconds. Isaiah tries to inbound the ball, and Bird steals it, whips it to a teammate, and the Celtics win. That play became a highlight reel staple, and even Isaiah later called it one of the defining plays of their era. Then came the controversy. After a loss to Boston, Isaiah was quoted saying Bird was overrated, but he later explained it wasn't personal. It was about how the media talked about white players versus black players. That moment stirred things up, but it didn't spiral. No fights, no long-term public feud, just two elite competitors doing what they did best. Years later, things circled back. Isaiah coached the Pacers in the early 2000s, and Larry Bird, then the team's president, fired him in 2003. Isaiah later said he felt like he didn't get a real chance, and Bird said it was a decision about team direction, not personal issues. They've both reflected on it publicly. Isaiah even told Bird he thought the firing was a mistake, but neither kept it going as drama. This was a rivalry built on classic games, playoff tension, and a few sharp words, but always grounded in mutual respect and high-level basketball. Nothing bitter, just basketball history. Nikola Jokic, the guy's playing center, but his stats look like they belong to a guard who borrowed someone else's body. He's nearly 7 feet tall and still dropping over 11 assists per game, which puts him ahead of a lot of actual point guards. And yeah, he's not just doing this in one random stretch. He averaged a triple-double for a whole season. That's not normal for anyone, but for a center, it's bonkers. He's knocking down threes at over 43%, shooting over 60% from the field, and still cashing in over 85% of his free throws, all while scoring nearly 30 points a night. That's not just rare, it's unheard of. Centers usually hang out in the paint, but Jokic is out there orchestrating like he's running a concert. And let's talk about his passing. He reads defenses like a novel, flipping passes behind his head, across the court, through defenders, and sometimes without even looking. Denver's offense literally runs through him like he's the quarterback in sneakers. He leads the team in assists, rebounds, and often points. On the boards, he's grabbing over 12 a game and starting fast breaks himself. Even his defense is all brain. He uses positioning and timing instead of athleticism, and it works. Somehow, it really works. Wemby, his whole existence messes with what basketball rules are supposed to be. 7 feet 3.5 inches tall, not in sneakers, and his wingspan measures around 8 feet. That's not just long, that's skyscraper long. And somehow, he moves like a guy a foot shorter. No stiff limbs, no dragging feet, just smooth footwork and coordination that shouldn't happen at that side. He brings the ball up like a wing, crosses defenders, and then casually pulls up from 3. His shot release is so high, it looks like he's passing to the ceiling, and nobody's blocking it, unless they bring a trampoline. He hits threes, mid-range pull-ups, and fades from the post, all while being guarded by people who don't even bother contesting half the time. Then there's his defense. He led the league in blocks, but it's not just that. He changes shots without even jumping. Opponents see him and just rethink life. He switches onto guards, chases down shooters, and somehow doesn't move like a giant tree in the wind. That combination of rim protection and switchability is practically science fiction. Add in triple doubles with blocks, 5x5s, high assist flash, and nightly stats that bend traditional box scores, and it's clear. This guy's skill set didn't evolve from past players. It broke the mold entirely. Giannis. He's 6 feet 11 inches tall, weighs around 243 pounds, and has a 7'3" wingspan. That's big man size with breakaway speed and enough flexibility to guard every position on the court. No exaggeration, he switched onto point guards and held his own. Defensively, he's won awards for a reason. In transition, he covers ground like a freight train. He can cross half court in one stride and dunk 2 dribbles later. That combination of speed and control at that size doesn't show up often. He scores around 24 points a game, grabs almost 10 boards, and hands out about 5 assists. Most of those points come near the rim or from the line because defenders either foul or get moved out of the way. He's not a point guard, but somehow generates nearly half of Milwaukee's offense in some seasons through a mix of scoring and passing. That's rare for a forward. He's had games with 40 points, 10 boards, and 5 blocks. In the finals, nobody else has done that. His rebounding's elite, especially on the offensive glass. He's the Bucks' all-time leader in rebound. His defense combines size, lateral speed, and rim protection, not just blocks. And despite lacking elite shooting, he pressures defenses constantly. He stretches schemes just by existing. Playmaking, slashing, and positional versatility like his isn't just rare, it's historic. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, Tyrese Halliburton. He's 6 feet 5 inches tall and weighs around 185 pounds, which makes him tall for a point guard, but light for his height. His wingspan stretches to about 6 feet 8, giving him passing lanes and defensive reach that help make his playmaking more dynamic than most players his size. In the 2024 to 2025 season, he averaged over 9 assists per game and kept his turnovers incredibly low. His assist to turnover ratio landed around 5.6, which is elite compared to nearly any modern playmaker. In the playoffs, he jumped to nearly 11 assists per game and still barely turned the ball over. That kind of efficiency and volume from the lead guard spot doesn't happen often. He shot nearly 39% from 3 on high attempts, hit 85% of his free throws, and maintained a true shooting percentage over 60%. That's rare for someone who handles the ball that much, especially with his awkward shooting form. It doesn't look like it should work, but it does. Even though his defensive rating was around 115, he still averaged over a steal per game. That mix of high activity and low defensive efficiency is odd. He also boosted his play in the postseason, adding rebounds and clutch shot making. Add in the historical assist efficiency, and now the Achilles injury that paused everything. And it's a strange, high-level profile with a weird trajectory. Jalen Brunson. There's nothing normal about how he gets it done. He's not fast, he doesn't jump high, and his size doesn't scare anybody. But the guy still puts up elite numbers, like it makes sense. That's what makes his whole approach weird. Everything about him says average, but the results don't match. His footwork's wild. Most guards explode off 1 foot and go for flash. Brunson, he uses both constant pivots, angles, and balance tricks that freeze defenders without even moving that fast. It's almost like he's always half a step ahead without actually taking the step. What really separates him is how much of his game was built from scratch. There's no cheat code from athleticism. He had to learn every little detail, angles, positioning, when to create contact, and the pick and roll, he's a problem in it. No quick burst, no crazy length, but still gets elite results. Now throw in his post game. Yes, a 6'3" guard posting up like a forward, spins, fakes, pivots, all based on timing and footwork. Most guys his size don't even try that. He scores from weird spots, off balance, on purpose. It's not flashy, but it works. In the defense, he's not locking anyone down, but he's smart enough to survive. He's proof that craft can beat tools. Chet Holmgren, a 7'1" player, shouldn't move like this. He's long, wiry, and not built like a tank, but the way he moves, it's way more guard than center. His mobility is flat out weird for that size. Laterally and vertically, he covers ground like someone half a foot shorter. But that's not even the strange part. He handles the ball like a forward. He pulls up off the dribble. He floats around the perimeter, spaces the floor, and hits jumpers with form that doesn't belong on a guy that tall. Most 7-footers are paint-bound and power-focused. Holmgren's out here creating from all three levels. His rim protection flips the usual script. No bulk, no raw strength, just pure timing, wild reach, and insane body control. Instead of throwing bodies around, he's gliding into perfect positioning and altering shots like it's second nature. And he doesn't just stand under the rim. He switches, stays in front of quicker players, and actually makes it work. Off the ball, he cuts, repositions, relocates. Stuff you'd expect from a wing, not a center. He doesn't fit the old categories. He's not a true big, not a wing, not a stretch four. He's something new. Even his path was weird. Missed his first season, came back, and somehow looked like he'd never left. The tools shouldn't add up, but they do, and they make no sense in the best way. Jalen Johnson, built like a forward, but plays like a guard. That combo alone throws off traditional roles. At 6'8", with a 7-foot wingspan, he brings size most playmakers don't have. Yet he can handle the ball, push tempo, and create like someone way smaller. His passing instincts aren't just good for his size, they're good, period. What makes it even weirder is how he moves. He's not built for pure speed, but his first step and bounce are explosive. Not just for his position, for anyone. He doesn't rely on basic, straight line drives either. He picks creative routes to the rim, finishes off balance or through contact, and rarely takes the same path twice. He's a strange hybrid on offense. One trip down, he's a ball handler. Next trip, he's finishing in traffic. He doesn't slot into a typical small forward or power forward role. Sometimes he's grabbing rebounds and taking it coast to coast like a point guard. It looks like chaos, but there's intention behind it. On defense, he can guard almost anyone. Bigs, guards, wings, doesn't matter. That switchability, combined with offensive creation, is extremely rare. Most players don't have the energy or skill to pull off both. His draft projection didn't predict this. What looked like raw potential turned into a role-breaking, mismatch-generating, do-everything force that defies labels. Josh Giddey, a 6'8" point guard, already breaks the rules, but he does more than just stand out. He shatters the blueprint. His frame suggests forward, but he runs the offense like a lead guard. That combo alone puts him in rare territory. Historically, most primary facilitators are quicker, smaller, and perimeter-focused. Giddey's role flips that idea. He's ambidextrous with his passing and sees angles like few others. Instead of scoring first, he initiates from anywhere on the floor, over defenders, in motion, off the rebound. And those rebounds matter because he crashes the boards like a forward, then instantly starts the break. Most players his size either rebound or initiate. He does both. He's also made history. Youngest player ever with a triple-double. One of the few rookies since 1961 to get 3 in a row. He hit 1,000 points, 700 rebounds, and 500 assists in his first 100 games. A list shared with a very short group of all-around talents. What makes him weirder is his blend of vision and scoring development. Always pass first, but now he's a threat from deep too. Defenders have to respect the shot and the drive, which changes everything. And while his defense isn't elite, he's active, instinctive, and tough on the glass. He's not a pure guard or a big, he's a tempo setter, a rebounder, a passer, a scoring threat, all wrapped in a non-traditional, uniquely effective package. Amen Thompson, built like a wing, but runs the show like a guard. At 6'7", he's got the frame of a forward, but he's out there handling the ball, setting tempo, and leading the offense. That already throws off expectations. Most players his size work off the ball. Amen starts with it. His athleticism takes it up a notch, long strides, wild burst, and vertical explosion that's closer to track and field than half-court basketball. He covers more ground than most guards and finishes above the rim with ease. But he doesn't just jump high, He gets there fast. Transition plays turn into easy buckets because nobody keeps up. The weird part? He's a playmaker first, doesn't hunt isolation buckets, doesn't dominate with pull-up shooting. He breaks defenses, then finds teammates, all while being listed as a small forward. His handle throws defenders off with unpredictable rhythm, and he sees the floor like a point guard. Defensively, he guards everybody. Guards, wings, even some bigs and switches. He earned all defensive first team in year 2. That doesn't happen unless you're seriously disrupting things. And he does it without needing elite strength, just reaction speed and positioning. He came through overtime elite, not the usual college route. That raised questions. His shooting, still a work in progress, but everything else, the tools, the defense, the vision, the pace, it's all there. A top pick who breaks every mold. Bam. A 6'9" big who plays like a guard, switches like a wing, and anchors like a center. That alone makes him hard to categorize. He's listed as a center or power forward, but the roles he fills stretch way beyond either of those. Defensively, he's one of the few bigs who guards all 5 positions. Guards, wings, centers. He takes them all. And it's not just effort. It's lateral quickness, strength, and elite timing. He's been named to the all-defensive team multiple times, and coaches trust him to isolate against anyone. Not many centers are the go-to ISO stoppers. On offense, he's just as strange. He rebounds, then brings the ball up like a secondary point guard. His high post passing is elite, and he finds cutters like a true facilitator. He's even notched multiple triple-doubles with assists, not just points and rebounds. Most bigs don't even get the chance, and his game keeps evolving. He started stretching the floor, taking more outside shots than ever. It's not just growth, it's transformation. He came in as a post big and turned into a ball handling, playmaking, do everything modern. Centerpiece. He's also a schematic anchor. Coaches build switch-heavy systems around him because he doesn't need help. That kind of flexibility is nearly impossible to find in one player, let alone a big. Bam's just built different. Alperen Sengun, a 6'11" big who passes like a guard, scores like a throwback center, and moves through an offense like a high IQ point forward. That blend makes no sense on paper, and that's exactly why his game feels so weird. Most bigs catch and finish. Sengun catches, fakes, reads the floor, and delivers dimes from the post or elbow like he's playing a different game. He's already hit assist, marks no center his age has touched. Thousands of points, rebounds, and assists, and still in his early 20s. It's not just volume either. He's doing it through post spins, soft floaters, fake handoffs, and behind-the-back bounce passes. Nothing looks scripted, but it's all controlled. Defensively, he doesn't fit the usual profile. He's not a vertical rim protector, and he's not built to switch on quick guards, but he reads the floor, uses timing, and finds ways to disrupt without relying on elite athletic tools. That's not normal for a center expected to anchor a defense. Even his path was strange. Drafted 16th, despite dominating overseas with passing and feel. Now he's an all-star, and while his shooting isn't elite, it's expanding, giving him even more tools to work with. He's not a post-up bruiser. He's not a stretch 5. He's something in between, and that in-between space is exactly what makes him so hard to define. LaMelo Ball, standing 6'7" with a nearly 6'10" wingspan. He's built more like a wing than a typical point guard, but he's running the show, initiating offense, controlling tempo, and bending defenses without ever looking rushed. His size, paired with true lead guard duties, already breaks the mold. Add in a professional path through Lithuania, the JBA, and the NBL, and it gets even stranger. His passing is where things go sideways, in a good way. He hits cutters with live dribble feeds, throws full court lasers in stride, and drops behind the back dimes in traffic. His vision is rare, and the way he executes it, unorthodox. The deliveries, the timing, the angles, they don't follow the playbook. His shooting doesn't follow the rules either. Off balance, odd footwork, funky releases, and yet defenders can't ignore him beyond the arc. He creates space and drains deep threes with mechanics that look nothing like textbook. On offense, he pushes tempo, finds mismatches, and keeps the defense spinning. He's not just calling plays, he's creating the pace. His decisions shift spacing and offensive rhythm even when he's not scoring. But with all the creativity comes volatility. His turnover rates are high. His defense is hit or miss. Still, the mix of height, vision, touch, and pace control makes him one of the most unusual lead guards in today's game. There's no simple label that fits. Draymond Green, a 6'6" forward who plays center, guards point guards, initiates offense, and doesn't score much. Just that sentence breaks about 5 NBA molds. He's undersized for almost every role he fills, but somehow still anchors championship-level systems on both ends. Since 2014, he's been Golden State's small ball center, out-muscling bigs and outsmarting guards. Defensively, he switches across 5 positions, not with freakish verticals, but with anticipation, communication, and pure basketball IQ. He's won Defensive Player of the Year and made the All-Defensive team 9 times. He reads plays like a chess master, jumping passing lanes, contesting shots, and calling out switches before they happen. Offensively, he's not a scorer. He's a passer, a big initiating fast breaks, setting up shooters, and running half-court offense. Averages assists at a rate most guards would take. He finds teammates in motion and creates offense without being the one putting up shots. He's also posted triple-doubles without hitting double digits in points, a statistical anomaly that somehow keeps happening. In 2025, he even won the Hustle Award, a stat category built to track the kind of effort that doesn't show up in the box score. His game forces coaches to rethink positions, guarding 5s, setting screens, leading breaks, hitting 3s just enough to stretch the floor. Draymond blends jobs, usually split between 3 players, and that weirdness is exactly what made him essential. Kristaps Porzingis, 7'2" with deep range, off-movement shooting, and rim protection. That combination doesn't make sense. Most players that tall stick near the basket. Porzingis floats out to the perimeter, stretches defenses, and still blocks shots like a traditional big. That blend of size and skill gave him the unicorn label early, and it's stuck because nobody's really fit the mold since. His scoring profile is what makes it weird. He can post up, hit mid-range fades, pick and pop, and launch 3s over defenders without even seeing a hand in his face. His shot release and height make him nearly unguardable when he's set. Coaches have to scheme around the spacing he creates, not just for himself, but for everyone else on the floor. Defensively, he's just as strange. He's not known for strength or mobility like a modern switch big, but his timing, positioning, and length make him one of the league's better rim protectors. His presence alone alters how teams attack the paint. Even as a rookie, he put up stats nobody at his size had touched: scoring, rebounding, blocking shots, and knocking down 3s. He's been an all-star and won a championship, all while redefining how a big can be used. He doesn't fit the past, but he keeps shaping the future. Colin Sexton, 6'3", aggressive, and built more like a sprinter than a traditional point guard, but he doesn't operate like one. His game is all drive, literally. He's not a finesse shooter or a methodical floor general. He attacks, slams into traffic, and finishes with power most guards his size avoid. That strength, paired with a 6'6" wingspan, makes his downhill game feel a lot bigger than his height suggests. What makes him weird is how often he seeks contact. He draws fouls like a slasher, but he's not a wing. He shoots from all 3 levels, but his rhythm leans toward contested drives and physical mid-range pull-ups, not clean spot-ups or easy catch and shoots. He runs the offense, but he's not really a playmaker in the traditional sense. His assist numbers have never defined his game, and his pick-and-roll reads don't fit the classic lead guard profile. Still, he's had the ball in his hands a lot, which means teams have leaned into that hybrid role he's carved out. His defense adds to the puzzle. He's tough on the ball, physical with screens, but doesn't always lock in off ball. There's effort, but also inconsistency. And then there's the evolution. He's gone from a primary option to a rotational piece and back again, constantly reshaping a game that doesn't really fit any one mold. That's what makes him hard to define. Jonathan Isaac, at 6'10", with a 7'1" wingspan, he's built like a big, but moves like a wing. That alone makes him hard to categorize. Most players his size hang near the rim or play the 4. Isaac switches onto point guards, contests perimeter shots, and still protects the paint. He doesn't fit the normal blueprint for any position. His defensive profile is flat out weird. He racks up blocks and steals like a center, but defends in space like a guard. On a per-minute basis, he's been one of the league's most impactful defenders, not just in traditional stats, but in advanced metrics that track overall possession disruption. Even when his minutes are limited, the numbers show he changes how teams play. Offensively, he's never been a high-volume scorer, but his potential stands out. In college, he hit 3s at a solid rate, attacked close out, and flashed ball-handling moves most bigs don't touch. Scouts saw guard-like creation in a near 7-footer, which is exactly the kind of archetype that doesn't have a historical lane. He missed time with injuries, which slowed his development. But when he plays, the floor tilts. His frame, movement, And versatility, create a defensive anchor without needing a traditional center. He's not just a forward, he's a switchable, long-limbed, rim-protecting wing who defends everywhere and doesn't look like anyone else doing it. Dyson Daniels, a 6'7" guard with a 7-foot wingspan, guarding point guards, full court, and wings in the half court, all while running offense. That alone makes his profile weird. But then he leads the entire NBA in steals per game, deflections, and total defensive disruptions, something usually reserved for elite veteran defenders or rim protectors. And he did it at age 21. He's not just long, he's smart. He reads passing lanes, times digs, rotates early, and pressures without fouling. Last year, he became the youngest player ever to record 200 steals in a season, breaking a record held by Magic Johnson. Offensively, he doesn't blow by defenders or explode at the rim. Instead, he relies on craft, footwork, angles, timing. His scoring comes through counters, not power. His playmaking comes from vision and control, not downhill burst. What makes it strange is the mix. His defensive ceiling is all NBA level. His offensive rhythm is controlled and technical. But his shooting, still shaky. He doesn't space the floor like most wings. He initiates, passes, defends, but doesn't stretch. And despite all this, he won Most Improved Player and joined a short list of players in league history, Magic, MJ, and a few others, to average strong numbers across points, boards, assists, and steals. Daniels doesn't fit the 3 and D mold. He doesn't fit the pure point guard mold either. He's a big, defensive disruptor who runs offense but can't yet shoot from deep. That's not just rare, it's uncharted. Jordan Clarkson, a second-round pick who became a primary scorer, a bench player with starter-level volume, a guard who thrives on self-created offense but has played most of his career off the bench. That's a non-traditional path and a non-traditional skill set. At 6'5", Clarkson brings a combo guard frame, but he's not a pure point guard, and he's not a spot-up shooter. His game is built on creating shots off the dribble, pull-ups, mid-range leaners, contested threes, and aggressive drives. That's a scoring style more common among starters, with usage built around them. Yet Clarkson's impact comes mostly off the bench. He won Sixth Man of the Year in 2021 and carved out a long career as a microwave scorer, someone who comes in cold and heats up fast. That kind of scoring identity is rare to sustain across teams and systems, but Clarkson's done it with the Lakers, Cavs, Jazz, and now the Knicks. His journey is just as unusual. Drafted 46th overall, he made the all-rookie first team, an uncommon feat for a second-rounder. He's also one of the most prominent Filipino-American players in NBA history, representing the Philippines internationally and making history alongside Jeremy Lin in the league's first Asian-American starting backcourt. Clarkson's game defies neat labels. He doesn't fit the mold of a traditional sixth man, and he doesn't rely on others to score. He's a self-creating scorer, a cultural milestone maker, and a long-term NBA contributor, built outside the blueprint, Jordan Poole. His skill set's a strange blend of deep-range shooting and slashing that throws him way outside the usual guard mold. He's not just a spot-up sniper or a pure isolation guy. He's both and neither at the same time. He'll launch from way beyond the arc off the dribble. Then next possession, he's knifing into the paint like a rim-hunting wing. That kind of shot mix just doesn't line up with traditional guard labels. What makes it even weirder is how he operates without a locked-in role. 1 minute he's the spark plug off the bench, the next he's the lead scoring option. He shifts between playmaker and bucket getter like he's flipping a coin. Not many guards bounce from six man on a title team to primary scorer without totally changing who they are. His usage rate jumps around, and so does his efficiency, which makes the whole thing even harder to pin down. Playmaking's real too, but not in the classic point guard way. His passing shows up bursts, off pick and rolls or broken plays, not as a constant. He'll hit teammates in rhythm, but it's not the foundation of his game. Add in a fearless pull-up game, reworked mechanics, and body control that's tightened year by year, and it's clear his weirdness isn't by accident, it's by evolution. Igor Dema, a 6'8" point guard with real playmaking instincts, is already odd, but Dama's entire path and style turn the whole thing inside out. Most tall guards lean toward forward duties, but Demon's been threading passes like a floor general while spacing the floor like a wing. He's not explosive off the dribble, yet still manages to create with timing and angles instead of pure speed. That blend's not typical, and it's working. He barely cracked 30% from deep in college, then jumped into the league and started hitting threes at an above-average clip. That's not normal. Usually, the shot improves gradually, but he came in firing and making. And it's not just the shot, it's the volume. He's letting them fly like a scoring guard, not a pass-first rookie. Add in his role flexibility, and things get even weirder. He's bringing the ball up, cutting off the ball, defending multiple spots, and even screening sometimes. Coaches are using him all over the place, and it's not just versatility, it's unpredictability. His game doesn't settle into one box. Stat-wise, it's all spread out, 9 to 11 points, a few boards, a few assists. Nothing flashy, but it shows he's doing a bit of everything. It's not just about scoring, it's about impact in places most rookies never touch. That's what makes his skill set weird. Toumani Camara. He's officially listed as a power forward, but the way he moves, defends, and spaces the floor looks more like a wing who wandered into the wrong depth chart. He's 6'7" and 230 pounds. Yet he defends like a guard, switching onto ball handling, and even holding his own against centers in small lineups. His wingspan lets him clog passing lanes, while his foot speed keeps up with quicker guards. That kind of defensive profile is already strange for his size, but then there's the offense. He came into college as a shaky shooter, barely hitting from deep, but he turned that around and kept improving. Now he's knocking down corner threes in the NBA and stretching the floor in ways that weren't even in the scouting reports. He's not a shot creator, but he moves without the ball, makes sharp cuts, and rebounds like a much bigger player. That combination doesn't fit neatly into any one offensive role, and even weirder, he went from a second-round pick to earning an $82 million contract. He's drawing offensive fouls at a pace that challenges league records and made the all-defensive second team as a rookie. Camara doesn't just play a role, he blurs them. A late pick who defends like a guard, rebounds like a big, and shoots like a wing? That's not normal. That's weird. Nikola Jovic. He's 6'10" with the skill set of a guard, and that alone bends the rules of NBA roles. Most players his size are finishers or post scorers, but Jovic plays like a connector, someone who moves the ball, spaces the floor, and reads the game like a wing. He's not just tall, he's a tall guy doing small guy stuff, which is where it gets weird. The ball handling, the playmaking, the perimeter shooting, it all stacks up into a blend that doesn't belong to any one position. He came out of the Adriatic League, already shooting over 40% from three, and that touch followed him. The Miami Heat use him as both a spacer and a ball mover, which isn't a common combo for players near 7 feet tall. He can grab the ball, push in transition, hit a trailer, or pull up. In the half court, he'll operate off the catch, then swing the ball or attack a closeout. That's not power forward stuff, that's role fluidity. His stat line tells the same story. 10 points, nearly 4 boards, almost 3 assists. Not flashy, but balanced. And the team clearly believes in it. They gave him over $62 million on an extension. That kind of investment in a player who doesn't fit the mold shows how unique his game really is. Jovic doesn't just challenge positional labels, he ignores them. Jose Alvarado, he wasn't even drafted, yet now he's one of the most recognizable defensive pests in the league. That path alone is rare, especially for a 6-foot guard who's supposed to be too small for NBA defense. He came in on a 2-way deal and forced his way into the rotation with hustle, instincts, and plays that totally ignore the usual size rules for point guards. His nickname, Grand Theft Alvarado, isn't a joke. He's literally made a skill out of sneaking behind ball handlers and picking their pockets mid-possession. His defensive impact isn't just hype either. He's consistently drawing charges, jumping lanes, and turning basic plays into chaos. That's not normal, small guard stuff. And somehow, while flying around creating turnovers, he also rarely turns it over himself. His assist-to-turnover ratio is one of the best for his role. He takes care of the ball while creating offense in spurts. His shot profile is another curveball. He barely touches the mid-range. It's all threes or at the rim, like a math teacher built his shot chart. He's had games with huge scoring bursts, including 38 points, despite playing off the ball more often than not. He's not a pure point guard, not a microwave scorer, and not just a defender. He's weird, efficient, tough, unpredictable, and weird. Danny Wolf. He's nearly 7 feet tall, but plays like he wants nothing to do with being just a traditional big. Early in his NBA time, he's already stepped out and hit threes, moved the ball like a forward, and made plays that don't belong to a guy his size. He's not just a rim runner or floor spacer, he does both, plus a little bit more. His college career started at Yale, ended at Michigan, and everywhere in between, he was rebounding, passing, and putting up double-doubles. Then he entered the NBA and just kept stacking up stats across categories. The Nets grabbed him with the 27th pick, then threw him into a rotation filled with young, unproven players, and he's already flashed scoring from the perimeter, defensive timing, and unselfish play. He even dropped 22 points with threes, assists, and a block in a single game. Most rookie bigs either shoot or bang inside. He's doing both. But the weird part? His brain might be the strangest skill. He overprocesses, sometimes hesitating mid-play, but he reads the floor like a guard. That balance of IQ and hesitation makes him unpredictable, for better or worse. He's also played internationally for Israel and looked like a completely different weapon. So now, with G League minutes, NBA reps, and a non-standard game that blends post-work with pick and pop shooting, Danny Wolf's not trying to fit the mold. He's bending it. Ninja headband. The NBA officially pulled the plug on these tied-up fabric strips right before the 2019 to 2020 season. These weren't your usual stretchy headbands. They were manually tied, kind of like a sash, and had loose ends dangling down. Players loved them for style, not just sweat, but the league was not feeling the ninja vibes. Guys like Jimmy Butler, Drew Holiday, Jarrett Allen, Montrezl Harrell, and Karl Anthony Towns brought the look to the floor, with Mike Scott even speaking out after the ban. He said he was told they looked too unprofessional. That word kept popping up, even though the league didn't put it front and center in their official reasoning. Instead, the NBA leaned hard into safety concerns. They claimed the way the headbands were tied created risks, like a knot getting grabbed during play or the fabric coming loose and causing a fall. They also didn't like the lack of consistency. Different players were wearing them in different sizes, shapes, and tying methods. So the NBA said they hadn't been approved through the uniform process and slapped the ban on. The interesting part, players had already been wearing them the season before, but instead of pulling them mid-season, the league waited. They told teams in May and made it official in September. That delay made some people question how dangerous the headbands really were. Critics pointed out that it might have just been the league policing player image again, something they've done before with chains, goggles, and even upside-down headbands. There was no public incident, no fall, no tangle, just a sudden decision and a whole lot of speculation. The NBA has hinted that if a standardized version existed, they'd consider it, but that's never happened. So for now, the ninja look is benched. No loose ends, literally or figuratively. A PL sneaker. Back in 2010, the NBA dropped the hammer on a pair of basketball shoes that hadn't even made it to tip-off. The APL Concept 1, built by twin brothers Adam and Ryan Goldston, had one feature that got the league's attention fast: a spring-loaded system in the forefoot, designed to increase a player's vertical leap. They called it load and launch, and it wasn't subtle. According to APL, the system compressed under pressure and then rebounded, allegedly giving players a boost of up to 3.5 inches on their jump. That made the Concept 1 heavier and more complex than normal shoes, but the promise was right there: instant bounce. The league didn't like that promise. They announced the ban in October, right before the 2010 to 2011 season started. The reasoning? The shoes gave a performance advantage that was considered unfair under league rules. And just like that, the sneakers were out before they were ever really in. No major player wore them in a regular season game. Still, the ban turned into a marketing goldmine. The whole ban by the NBA line became APL's calling card, and it definitely helped fuel demand. What's interesting is that the ban was based on the idea of competitive balance. There's no specific NBA rulebook entry about spring-based shoes, but the league made it clear: if tech gives players a physical edge, it can be disqualified. APL kept innovating, launching newer models like Concept X and Super Future, with carbon fiber and other enhancements that might have pushed limits without crossing the same line. Whether those would pass the league's sniff test is still a mystery. In 2024, they even dropped a special capsule with the band design in a flashy metallic colorway. APL never backed off that original identity. The only brand that made the league nervous enough to shut it down before it got started. Laser pointers. The NBA's fan code of conduct has made it crystal clear. Laser pointers and anything similar are not welcome in arenas. They're grouped with things like optical illusions or devices that can mess with players' vision. Fans caught using them get tossed out, and in some cases, banned. The league leaves the list open-ended too, meaning they can clamp down on any new gadget that pops up if it causes problems. The logic behind the rule is actually pretty simple. Shining a laser into someone's eyes is dangerous and incredibly distracting, especially for players trying to shoot. Even low-powered lasers can cause temporary vision issues, so the ban's there to protect players and make sure fans aren't turning games into science fairs. The most well-known example happened in January of 2016. James Harden was at the free throw line in Salt Lake City when a fan tried shining a laser into his eyes. The first time, Harden thought it was just a camera flash. The second time, the referee caught it. Harden later called it disrespectful, saying nobody would want to be hit with a laser in the face. And honestly, He had a point. Arena security acted fast. The fan was ejected during the game and later hit with a 1-year ban from every NBA arena. That was the league's way of saying they weren't messing around. Harden spoke about it publicly afterward, and the whole thing got a ton of media coverage. The rule itself doesn't just ban using lasers during shots, it bans even having them in the building. The NBA's taking the prevention angle seriously, and this kind of enforcement isn't unique. Other sports leagues around the world have had to deal with laser pointer problems, and most have adopted bans of their own. Bottom line, bringing lasers into games is a one-way ticket to getting kicked out. And the NBA's not shy about handing out bans. Supreme sleeves. Back in December of 2017, Kelly Oubre stepped onto the court with a Supreme X Nike compression sleeve stretched across his leg. It had the bold, red Supreme logo front and center, along with Nike and NBA logos, and that combination ended up stirring more trouble than expected. During halftime of that same game, Kelly was told by his team to take it off. He later said he was confused, especially since the sleeve had the official Nike and NBA logos. From his perspective, it seemed like a legitimate piece of league-approved gear, but the league saw things differently. The issue? Branding. The NBA has strict rules around uniform accessories, and while the full rulebook isn't public, it's well known that players can't wear items with non-approved commercial logo. The Supreme branding was likely viewed as unauthorized advertising, something the league keeps a tight grip on. Even if Nike and the NBA logos were there, Supreme hadn't cleared that final hurdle with the league. It's also about consistency. The NBA enforces accessory standards, not just for logos, but also for color, size, placement, and design. Something like a Supreme sleeve might have stood out too much, and when Kelly joked that it was too wavy, he might not have been that far off. No public fine was ever issued, and there's no official document listing a formal ban, but the sleeve hasn't been seen in action since. Media outlets and banned accessory lists continue to reference the moment as a clear example of the NBA stepping in when a look crosses the line. This wasn't a one-off either. Around the same time, the NBA told J.R. Smith to cover his Supreme tattoo or face fines, again citing visible corporate branding. So while the word ban might be a bit soft around the edges here, the message was obvious. No extra logos on gear, no matter how trendy it looks. Tinted goggles. The NBA's stance on these dark-lensed accessories goes back to a very specific moment. D. Wade's attempt to wear them during a game in January of 2011. Wade, who dealt with migraines and sensitivity to arena lighting, tried to wear goggles with a darker tint. But before the game even tipped off, the league stepped in and said no. The reason? The NBA determined that the goggles were too dark and gave Wade an unfair advantage. The logic was based on visual transparency. The darker the lens, the harder it is for defenders to read where a player's eyes are going. In basketball, being able to see a ball handler's eyes matters. It helps defenders anticipate passes, spot cuts, and adjust their spacing. So if a player's eyes are hidden behind a shaded lens, that tool disappears. After the league rejected the dark goggles, Wade was allowed to switch to a lighter tinted version that passed inspection. He ended up playing with them, and while he scored well early in the game, his free throw shooting dipped. Still, the Gogglegate moment stuck, and it shaped how the NBA treats tinted eyewear. Since then, any goggles with significant tint have effectively been treated as banned. The exact standards aren't public. The league hasn't released a rule listing specific tint levels or testing methods, but the precedent is clear. If the tint obscures eye visibility, it's likely getting rejected. This isn't a blanket ban on goggles. Plenty of players have worn clear or lightly tinted protective eyewear for injuries or medical reasons. The issue comes down to how dark the lens is and whether it blocks that line of sight for defenders. So while Wade's goggles were medically motivated, the league decided that even legitimate reasons don't outweigh what they consider a competitive edge. In the NBA's eyes, if your opponents can't see your eyes, you're crossing the line. Explicit clothing. While players get most of the spotlight when it comes to banned gear, fans aren't exactly off the hook either. The NBA's Fan Code of Conduct clearly bans any clothing, signs, or garments with profanity, explicit language, or anything considered obscene or derogatory. And yes, this applies to t-shirts, hoodies, and even those homemade signs people love waving during free throws. The rules give arenas full authority to eject anyone who breaks them. No refund, no second chances. That includes shirts with curse words, aggressive slogans, or insults aimed at players, coaches, or staff. The league specifically calls out obscene or indecent messages, and violation can lead to ticket revocation or bans from future games. One of the more documented cases happened in February of 2025 during a Mavericks game against the King. A few fans were ejected, and while one was kicked out for behavior, another was removed because of their shirt. The Mavericks statement made it clear the shirt broke the rule on garments with explicit or derogatory content. This time, though, all the shirts said was "Fire Nico." It's worth noting that these policies aren't enforced with the same public drama as player bans. A lot of times, fans are just quietly asked to cover up or leave. There's no extensive list of past violators or press coverage every time someone walks in with a shirt that crosses the line. Most of it stays local, handled by arena security without much media attention. Still, the rule stands. Show up to an NBA game wearing something with swearing or a loaded message, and there's a decent chance you'll be watching the rest of the night from the parking lot. The league wants the focus on the court, not on someone's shirt in the third row. Upside down headbands. Back in 2010, the NBA decided it had enough of players flipping their headbands upside down and folded it into the dress code like it was a major scandal. The headbands in question weren't some new accessory. They were the regular NBA issued ones, just worn with the logo flipped. Nothing changed about the material, the size, or the function. The only difference? The logo was upside down. The league's problem with it was all about branding and visual consistency. When the NBA puts its logo on something, it expects it to be seen right side up, not rotated as part of a player's personal fashion statement. So when players like Rajon Rondo started rocking the upside down look, it didn't sit well with league officials. Rondo was the poster child for it, showing up with the logo flipped and off center. It was subtle, but the league saw it as a quiet pushback against uniform conformity. Media reports at the time said the ban became official in October of 2010. From that point on, the league required headbands to be worn the correct way, with the NBA logo upright. There was no public tantrum or massive fine, but the message was loud enough. Don't mess with the uniform, even by turning something upside down. The league likely viewed it as a slippery slope. Today it's a flipped headband. Tomorrow it's players redrawing logos with glitter mark. So to avoid a cascade of low-level uniform rebellion, they shut it down early. Since the ban, no player has made a major public stand to bring the look back. There have been some low-key fan theories and rumors about players sneaking the look in during warm-ups, but nothing confirmed. The league's uniform police probably catch it before it becomes noticeable. In the end, this was one of those small-style moves that got clipped before it turned into a bigger trend: flags and banners. If you're planning to walk into an NBA game waving your team's flag like you're planting it on the moon, you might want to read the fine print. Nearly every NBA arena and the league itself has strict rules about flags, banners, and sign. The general theme: keep it small, keep it safe, and definitely keep it clean. The league's fan code of conduct bans flags and banners over 11 by 17 inches if they're attached to poles or sticks. There's a small exception for team-provided placards up to 14 by 22 inches, but even those can't be mounted on anything. So if you're thinking of hoisting a flag on a telescoping rod, forget it. This isn't just a league-wide suggestion. Arenas have detailed policies that echo the same rules. Capital One Arena, no poles, nothing commercial, and definitely no obscene language. Ball Arena, same. No oversized items, no third-party branding, and only specific team flags bought in the arena store are allowed. Delta Center, State Farm Arena, Xfinity Mobile Arena, Frost Bank Center. They all say nearly the same thing: keep it under the size limit, keep it respectful, and no sticks. Safety is a huge part of the reason. A flagpole in a packed crowd isn't just annoying, it's dangerous. There's also a visibility issue. Flags can block sponsor signage or even other fans' views of the court. And then there's the content: no profanity, political slogans, or anything deemed offensive. Arena staff have the final say and can remove anything they think crosses the line. None of this means flags are totally banned. A small team flag held in your hands, no pole, no foul language, nothing controversial, probably flies under the radar, but show up with something oversized or message loaded, and security might shut it down before tip-off. Custom Band-Aids. In 2009, D-Wade kicked off one of the NBA's more random fashion controversies when he showed up to games with a Band-Aid under his eye. Not just any bandage, but one with his name printed on it. At first, it seemed harmless. After all, he'd recently taken a shot to the face, and wearing a bandage wasn't exactly headline news, but the league didn't like what came next. Wade's Band-Aid wasn't just covering a cut. It became a full-on style move. Some versions had his name. Others had slogans or personal design. That's when the NBA stepped in. League spokesman Tim Frank made the policy clear. Players could wear Band-Aids for health reasons, but not with names or any kind of personal branding. No logos, no slogans, no exceptions. The NBA wasn't about to let a sticky strip turn into a billboard. The logic was all about presentation. The league controls what players wear on the court: uniforms, logos, even sock length. If they let personalized Band-Aids slide, it could open the door to all kinds of unauthorized branding. Imagine players slapping on bandages with sneaker logos, clothing brands, or their Instagram handles. It would have turned post-injury treatment into marketing real estate. So while Wade didn't get fined or penalized publicly, the message was clear. Decorative Band-Aids were out. Functional medical ones still allowed, but only if they're plain and logo-free. That unofficial but well-understood ban has stuck ever since. You won't find a rulebook section spelling it out word for word, but the policy lives through precedent. Media outlets still list custom Band-Aids as one of the NBA's banned accessories, and no player has really tested the rule since. The league shut it down early before it could become a full-on trend. Wade might have started it, but the NBA made sure he'd be the last. Footwear violations. Over the years, the NBA has treated sneakers like part of the uniform, not just fashion statements. And while players have way more freedom today, there's a long trail of shoes that crossed the line, got flagged, or flat out banned. The earliest and most iconic example is Michael Jordan's Air Jordan 1 in the black and red bread colorway. The league said the shoe didn't match the Bulls uniform, too little white, and cracked down. Nike spun it into marketing gold, but the league's message was about uniformity, not hype. Carmelo Anthony had issues with his Jordan Mellow M10s, not because of color or performance, but because of a shiny chrome heel. The glare was considered a safety and distraction risk, so the shoe had to be redesigned mid-season. Steph Curry caught attention when some of his Under Armour customs displayed logos or third-party graphics not cleared by the league. It wasn't a tech issue, just branding the league didn't approve. Same with Karl Anthony Towns' Stranger Things hyper. The league flagged the theme design as unauthorized. Josh Smith ran into trouble in Atlanta for wearing Adidas Top 10 2000s with pink and teal, colors that clashed with the Hawks uniform. He got a warning. That kind of color mismatch used to matter a lot more. Since 2018, the league has allowed players to wear any color sneaker, loosening those color rules. But safety, branding, and performance enhancement rules still stand. You can wear neon green kicks, but if your shoe turns into a trampoline or an ad space, expect a call from the league off gold chains. Back in the 1970s, it wasn't unusual to see NBA players hitting the court with necklaces swinging. Guys like Daryl Dawkins brought real flair to the floor, wearing gold chains, crosses, and even custom pendants like Sir Slam or Dr. Dunk. It was part style, part identity. But in 1980, the league decided the chains had to go. The reasoning was straightforward: safety. Chains could snag, snap, or scratch. In a game that's full of contact, wearing a metal loop around your neck was a recipe for injury to the player or someone else. Pendants swinging around in traffic, not ideal. The NBA didn't wait for a serious accident, they just shut it down. Once the ban hit, chains disappeared from the court. Players could still wear them off the court, of course, and many did. But during games, they became a no-go. That rule is still in place. It's one of the earliest accessory bans the league ever made, and it set the tone for what came later. The crackdown wasn't just about safety. It also tied into the league's push for a cleaner, more uniform look. Chains were flashy, sometimes oversized, and didn't fit the image the NBA was trying to present. Over time, the league's approach to attire got stricter, especially during David Stern's tenure. By 2005, the off-court dress code even banned visible chains. During media appearances and team events, that stirred up controversy, with critics saying it targeted streetwear culture. Still, the policy stood. Players now rock jewelry in the tunnel, on the runway, or at post-game pressers, just not when the clock's running. The gold chain era ended before the 80s really got rolling, and it stayed that way ever since. Drones. The NBA doesn't mess around when it comes to flying gadgets, and drones are right at the top of the banned list. The league's official code of conduct makes it crystal clear. Fans cannot bring drones into arenas, period. That includes anything remote-controlled, airborne, or otherwise buzzing around the rafters. You'll find the same rule echoed across NBA venues: State Farm Arena, Barclays Center, Frostbank Center. They all ban drones outright. No toy copters, no selfie drone, no flying anything. And it's not just about being a nuisance. The ban is grounded in safety, legal risk, and plain old common sense. There's already precedent. In October 2024, at a Celtics watch party in Boston, a drone operated by a CNN staffer crashed into the crowd. A few fans were cut and bleeding, and emergency services had to respond. That wasn't even inside an arena, just a public plaza, but it proved exactly why flying metal machines don't mix well with dense crowds. Even professional use can be sketchy. TNT flew a drone inside during a playoff game between the Celtics and Sixers in 2023. It was supposed to capture cinematic aerial shots, but fans hated it. The drone hovered awkwardly, got caught on camera, and distracted from the game. Viewers called it clunky and pointless. The backlash showed that even in controlled environments, drones can be a visual and technical headache. Beyond that, drones come with FAA regulation. Flying them over people or indoors is heavily restricted. If someone loses control, the league could be facing lawsuits, not just fan complaints. There's also the privacy issue. No one wants to be filmed from above in the middle of a game. So whether it's safety, legal exposure, or just not wanting an accidental hair trim from a quadcopter, the NBA's message is the same. Leave the drones at home. Carbon fiber masks. In 2014, LeBron James stepped on the court wearing a sleek, black carbon fiber face mask after breaking his nose. And it didn't take long for the NBA to step in. While the mask looked like something out of a superhero movie, the league didn't love the aesthetic. They asked him to swap it for a clear version, and he did. That one moment basically ended the black mask era in the NBA. The league never published a formal rule saying no black masks, but the message was loud enough. The concern wasn't just about the look, though that definitely played a part. The main issue was eye visibility. If a mask is dark or opaque, it can obscure a player's eyes, making it harder for defenders or officials to read their gaze. That kind of visual concealment touches on competitive balance, just like with tinted goggles or dark visors. It also ties into the league's obsession with presentation. A black mask on national TV draws attention, maybe too much. And if one guy wears a dark carbon fiber mask, what stops the next player from rolling out in a full opaque shield? The NBA prefers to close that door before it opens. There's no public evidence that LeBron was fined. He was just asked to make the change. But since then, the league's preference for clear masks has been the unspoken standard. That said, the policy lives in precedent, not print. There's no publicly posted line about brightness levels, light transmission, or specific materials being banned. Still, no one's worn a black carbon fiber mask in a regular season game since. And while the league hasn't outright banned the material, anything that hides the face or eyes is going to be flagged. So if you see a mask on the court today, it's going to be clear, even if the player wearing it misses the drama of looking like Batman. Beach ball. The NBA doesn't mess around when it comes to inflatable distractions. Beach balls are flat out banned under the league's code of conduct. They're grouped in with things like poles and selfie sticks. Basically, anything that can be thrown and cause a scene. If security spots one, it's gone. No questions, no bounce. No fun. Most arenas follow suit with their own lists. Denver's Ball Arena bans inflatables across the board. Beach balls, clappers, balloons, all of them. The Delta Center in Utah labels them as projectile, right alongside frisbees. Atlanta's State Farm Arena says no to anything remotely throwable, from bats to clubs to beach ball. In Detroit, Little Caesars Arena spells it out crystal clear. Beach balls or other inflatables are not getting through the door. Even Barclays Center in Brooklyn makes it a point to call out balloons and beach balls specifically. Now, the reasons? Pretty straightforward. First, these things are distraction. One beach ball bouncing into the court at the wrong moment could completely disrupt the game. Even drifting in the air, they can mess with players' focus or distract refs. Second, there's the safety angle. One bounce into the wrong spot and someone could trip or fall. Not to mention, beach balls flying into expensive gear or camera setups, not exactly ideal. They're also labeled as projectiles in most policies. Sounds dramatic, but it's not that far off. If you toss one hard enough, especially a fully inflated one, it's not all that innocent anymore. And they can block the view for fans or even cover up ads and messages around the arena. Not great for business. So instead of picking and choosing which inflatable's okay, arenas just shut it all down. It's simpler that way. There aren't many stories of people getting thrown out over a beach ball, but technically, if you bring one in, security has every right to toss you or it out. Do-rag. The NBA has a complicated history with this accessory. Back in the year 2000, Sam Perkins wore one during a preseason game and the league stepped in fast. Officials claimed it posed a potential safety hazard and told him to take it off. That's the first real moment where the do-rag entered NBA controversy, and it didn't exactly get smoother from there. Fast forward to 2005, and the league dropped its first ever dress code under Commissioner David Stern. Do-rags were officially banned for any NBA business setting. That means team arrivals, press conferences, bench appearances. None of it was safe territory for a do-rag, along with hats, giant chains, and certain t-shirts. Do-rags got flagged as unacceptable. The reasoning? Image control. After the infamous brawl in Detroit the year before, the league wanted players to look more professional. Critics jumped on it. A lot of players and fans felt like the ban unfairly targeted black culture and hip-hop fashion. Some called it respectability politics in disguise. Even though Commissioner Adam Silver later relaxed parts of the dress code, the original ban on do-rags has never officially been lifted. The league's stated reason was safety. Loose straps or ends could get caught during play or become a distraction. But considering the dress code was aimed at public appearances, not gameplay, that explanation felt thin. Really, it was about optics, making sure players fit a certain corporate-friendly image. And while there hasn't been another high-profile case like Perkins, the rule technically still stands. No documented cases have popped up in recent years, but the policy's never been reversed. There's some gray area now, especially with evolving styles and a more relaxed league vibe. But officially, do-rags remain banned in NBA business settings. So even if a player wanted to wear one today, it'd still be off limits. Whistles. These things are officially on the NBA's no-go list when it comes to fan items. The league's code of conduct spells it out clearly. Whistles, foghorn, air horns, plastic horns, even vuvuzelas, all banned. The logic's not subtle here. Arenas want no confusion, no chaos, and definitely no random fan pretending they're the ref. Plenty of arenas echo the league's stance. The Delta Center bans noise-making devices, and yes, whistles are called out directly. Barclays Center, same deal. Capital One Arena allows one exception, birdie alarms for personal safety. But if you try to sneak in a regular whistle, you're not getting far. Xfinity Mobile Arena lists whistles right alongside foghorns and air horns as things that aren't allowed through security. So yeah, the message is consistent across the board. The reason's actually pretty simple. Whistles mess with the game. If a player hears one and thinks it's coming from a ref, they might freeze, pause, or change direction. That's not just annoying. It can literally change the outcome of a play. In a fast-paced game, 1 second of hesitation can flip the score. It's not just about noise, it's about misdirection. A perfect example? Game 3 of the Lakers vs. Timberwolves series in April of 2025. A whistle from the crowd caused Luka to stop mid-play, thinking the action had been blown dead. That hesitation led to a turnover. Afterward, the arena announcer warned fans that anyone caught with a whistle would be tossed. Jordan Goodwin even confirmed he heard multiple whistles during the half. This isn't hypothetical. When fans bring in stuff like that, it affects gameplay, messes with competitive integrity, and makes it harder for refs to control the flow. The NBA's not about to let fans blow their own fouls. That's why this rule's not just about volume, it's about keeping the game clean and under control. Tripods. These things are banned across the board at NBA arenas, and the rule's not exactly up for debate. The league includes them in the official code of conduct, right alongside selfie sticks, monopods, and poles. Any of those items, including tripods, have to be confiscated if found at entry. You bring one in, you're either leaving it behind or turning around. Arena policies double down on this. Capital One, arena bans tripods and monopod without blinking. Barclays Center in Brooklyn lists them with professional camera gear that fans aren't allowed to use. State Farm Arena in Atlanta throws them in with poles and other throwable items. Even the Xfinity Mobile Arena says no to anything telescopic, tripods included. Ball Arena in Denver includes tripods with other camera gear that could pose hazard, and Gamebridge Fieldhouse straight up calls them a tripping risk. So why the ban? First off, obstruction. Tripods take up space and can block views or crowd walkways. You set one up in the middle of a row, and good luck to anyone trying to get past you without losing a shin. Second, they're rigid. Trip over one or get jabbed by a leg sticking out, and you've got a problem. Safety matters when you've got thousands of people packed into tight rows. There's also the recording issue. Tripods usually mean someone's trying to record at a higher level, and that crosses into territory the NBA doesn't allow. Unauthorized filming disrupts media rights and gets messy fast. Banning tripods helps shut that down. And really, security doesn't have time to sort through different tripod types and sizes. A flat-out ban is easier for everyone to enforce. Fans still try to sneak them in sometimes, but they're not getting far. Even smaller gear that looks like a tripod can raise flags. In NBA games, the rule's clear. Tripods are out. Every arena seems to agree. And honestly, it's one of the least argued bans around. Lakers. The Lakers' biggest weakness is rebound. They're ranked 26th in total rebound, sitting at just 41.1 per game. The only teams they're ahead of, the Clippers, Bucks, Kings, and Nets. Not exactly teams known for glass domination. Their defense rebounding is just as shaky, also ranked 26th with 31.6 boards. Even worse, there's no real anchor to pull them up. Luka leads the team with 8.7 rebounds, and he's a guard. DeAndre Ayton adds 8.6, but after that, things fall apart fast. Austin Reeves plays 36.8 minutes and grabs just 5.8 rebounds. Jared Vanderbilt, known for hustle, only gets 5.6. LeBron James is at 5 flat, which is low by his standards, and Jackson Hayes, he's a center averaging 4.1 rebounds. That should be an alarm. Rui and Jake LaRavia both get under 4.5 boards in over 25 minutes. Smart and Connect, just a couple each. This team doesn't just lack elite rebounders, it lacks reliable ones across the board. When your high-minute players bring in low numbers, the team suffered. The numbers say it loud. Rebounding is a glaring hole for this team. Timberwolves. The Timberwolves' biggest weakness is not having a true point guard. Their depth chart lists Devo, Mike Conley, Rob Dillingham, and Bones Highland, but none of them look like a traditional high-assist, high-efficiency organizer. Conley's 38, Dillingham and Highland are more scorers than distributor, and Devo's a combo guard, not a floor general. That's already a red flag. Then you look at the assist numbers. Conley averages just 3.5. Dillingham is at 1.9. Devo only manages 3.6. Not one cracks 4 assists, which is brutal for an offense depending on rhythm and movement. And scoring, it's not there either. Conley puts up 5.8, Dillingham 4.2. And while Devo hits 14, he's not the one running the show. These guys aren't collapsing defenses or making things easier for their teammates. Add in the shooting percentages. Conley at 41, Dillingham at 36.1, Devo at 42.9. And defenses don't even have to adjust. Conley's aging out, Dillingham's too raw, and Devo's more scorer than initiator. So yeah, there's no true point guard here. Just a rotation full of question marks when it comes to playmaking. Knicks. The Knicks' biggest weakness is a lack of size. Their depth chart shows just 2 real centers, Karl Anthony Towns and Mitchell Robinson. Robinson is the only natural one. Towns is listed as the starter at center, but he starts at power forward half the time. Gershon Yabusele is technically in the center mix too, but he's 6'8", which is undersized for that role. If Robinson's out, things get sketchy fast. Towns would be the lone big, and Yabusele would be the emergency option despite his height. That's it. Ariel Hukporti is listed as a 7-footer, but he doesn't play. Same with Trey Jemison, who's 6'10". Neither appears to be in the rotation, which leaves the team thin behind Robinson and Towns. Then it gets worse. The power forward line includes OG at 6'7" and Josh Hart at 6'5". That's not front court size. The small forward group isn't helping either, mostly guards and wings. With no legit rotation center outside of Robinson and their backup options being too small or buried, the Knicks don't just lack size, they lack center depth completely. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, Thunder. The Thunder's biggest weakness is offensive rebounding. This is nitpicking, but it's their only real weakness. The standings show them ranked 28th in the league with just 9.3 per game. That's third worst across the NBA, meaning only 2 teams do worse at grabbing second chances. Most of their possessions end after one shot, which limits their ability to extend plays and add pressure. Isaiah Hartenstein is their top offensive rebounder at 3.3, and he's the only one even close to solid number. After him, it drops fast. Chet Holmgren has just 1.5, Lou Dort 1.2, Aaron Wiggins 1, Cason Wallace 0.8, and AJ Mitchell just 0.6. No one else cracks 2, which shows a huge lack of help on the glass. Chet is a starter and still only brings in 1.5 a game. That's extremely low for someone anchoring the paint for nearly 30 minutes. When Hartenstein's not on the floor, their second chance potential drops off a cliff. Despite scoring over 122 points per game, they rely almost entirely on shot making. There's no rebounding safety net. When shots miss, the play dies. The numbers clearly show a major weakness on the offensive glass. Mavericks. The Mavericks' biggest weakness is, well, everything. They traded Luka, and now they've got Kyrie and Anthony Davis both out, in a roster that looks like it's stuck in an endless identity crisis. Luka's tearing it up with the Lakers, averaging 35.1 points, 8.7 rebounds, and 9.2 assists. Meanwhile, Dallas is praying for Anthony Davis's legs to hold up long enough to string together 2 games in a row. Kyrie, still injured. Shocking. With him sidelined and Davis constantly bouncing on and off the injury report, Dallas has zero consistency. Their offense has turned into a guessing game, and their depth is thinner than the tissue paper they used to wrap this trade. The rotation keeps shifting, and the chemistry looks like it's being built with expired glue. This whole idea of retooling for a title by swapping out a generational point forward for a brittle front court feels more like a panic move now. It's not just hindsight making it look bad, it's the present. Luka is dominating elsewhere. Dallas is shuffling through patch jobs, and that trade's already aging worse than a sandwich left in a hot car. Celtics. The Celtics' biggest weakness this season is the absence of Jason Tatum. He tore his right Achilles during last year's playoffs and had surgery, which knocked him out indefinitely. He's not expected back anytime soon, and although he's around the team, participating in off-court work, The staff hasn't committed to him returning this season. That's a brutal loss for a team that relied on him for scoring, creation, and spacing. Offensively, the drop-off has already shown up. Their offensive rating has dipped in meaningful minutes without him. And with the Eastern Conference wide open, this is the worst time to be missing your star. Teams are scrambling, windows are shifting, and Boston's opportunity to capitalize just got smaller. Jaylen Brown and Derek White can hold things together, but without Tatum, there's no two-way star to lean on. That forces the role players into bigger spots than they're ready for. Even if Boston stays competitive, the ceiling is lower. They're stuck in that awkward middle. Not bad enough to tank, not healthy enough to chase a title. Unless something changes, like a breakout, trade, or miraculous return, this season looks more like a reset than a real run. Grizzlies. The Grizzlies' biggest weakness right now is injuries. Morant is out with a right calf strain and will miss at least 2 weeks. That's their engine. Their creator, their scorer, gone. And it's not just him. Ty Jerome is also out with a calf injury, and he's expected to miss 6 to 9 weeks. That's a huge gap in their backcourt. Javon Small is sidelined too, dealing with a toe injury. He won't even be reevaluated for 3 weeks. Add in Scottie Pippen Jr., who's been out since October 18th, with a left big toe injury and has a full 12-week timeline. That's nearly 3 months. That's 4 guards out. 4. There's almost no rotation left. It doesn't stop there. Brandon Clark is missing time with a knee injury. He's expected to be out another 6 to 9 weeks. He's their energy guy up front, and his absence just adds to the chaos. Every injury is long-term. There are no day-to-days, no quick fixes, just a fully gutted rotation with zero backcourt stability and no front-court spark. The numbers say it all. This team's getting crushed by the injury report. Heat. The Heat's biggest weakness is their lack of size. Bam is the only proven center on the roster, and at 6'9", he's undersized for the position. Khalil Ware is 7 feet tall and slotted in as the backup, but he's the only other center getting regular minutes. Vladislav Golden is also 7 feet, but hasn't been part of the rotation, which means the team has just one consistent big man to lean on. At power forward, they start Andrew Wiggins, who's 6'7". Behind him, Nikola Jovic offers more length at 6'10", but he's still more of a finesse forward than a physical presence. Simone Fontecchio, another backup forward, is also 6'7". That trio doesn't provide much resistance inside, and none of them are traditional post defenders. The rest of the roster is filled with smaller players. Norman Powell is listed as a small forward, but is only 6'4". Tyler Hero and Pele Larson both check in at 6'5" and rotate through multiple spots. With most of the team standing 6'7" or shorter, Miami lacks the size and depth needed to protect the rim and defend bigger lineups. Warriors. The Warriors' biggest weakness is scoring. They're putting up just 114.5 points per game, which ranks 22nd in the league. That's bottom third, grouped with struggling offenses like Washington and Memphis. Not exactly elite company. Steph Curry is the only player delivering elite scoring, averaging 27.9. After him, the next highest is Jimmy Butler with 20.2, and then it falls off a cliff. JK sits at 13.5, Pods at 12.3, and Moses Moody at 12.2. Nobody else even cracks 15. The bench is even worse. Will Richard scores 8.4, Draymond Green has 8, Buddy Hield gives 7.2, Quentin Post gets 6.7, and Al Horford is at 5.8. That's 5 rotation players who don't hit double digits, and they all play real minutes. Draymond plays nearly 29 minutes and still only scores 8. When core players contribute that little offensively, it drags the whole unit down. Without consistent scoring behind Curry and Butler, the offense stalls. That's exactly why they're sitting near the bottom of the league in points per game. Hornets. The Hornets' biggest weakness is generating steals. They average just 6.8 per game, which ranks second worst in the entire league. Only the Nets produce fewer. That's a clear sign this team doesn't disrupt opposing offenses or force turnovers. LaMelo Ball is the only player averaging over 1 steal, sitting at 1.2. Everyone else? Under 1. Con Kanueppel, Ryan Kalkbrenner, Drew Peterson, Zion James, Colin Sexton, Brandon Miller, and Miles Bridges, all either average 0.7 and 0.8. That's 7 rotation players offering little to no ball pressure. Even the front court lacks production. Kalkbrenner and Bridges combined for just 1.5 steals. That's shockingly low for 2 starters, especially with Bridges playing over 35 minutes per game. The bench doesn't help either. Peterson, James, and Nueppel are all at 0.8. Players like Sexton, Miller, and Nueppel get big minutes, but rarely come up with steals. That keeps the team total low no matter who's on the floor. There's no perimeter disruptor, no passing lane threat, no defensive spark plug. The result? One of the least turnover-generating defenses in the NBA. Pelicans. The Pelicans' biggest weakness is front office decision-making. They'll always be attached to the Derek Queen trade. They moved up from the 23rd pick to take Derek Queen at 13, but they gave up an unprotected first-round pick in 2026 to do it. That's a massive risk for a team sitting at 3-18, dead last in the West. Queen's putting up 11.9 points, 6.1 rebounds, and 3.4 assists on 48% shooting. Those are decent rookie numbers, but not franchise-changing. Meanwhile, the team is collapsing. If this season's record holds, the pick they gave up could land in the top 5 next year. That means they might have traded away a future star to draft a solid role player early. This wasn't a team on the edge of contention. They're in the middle of a rebuild, and that's when you hold on to unprotected picks like gold. Right now, it looks like they pushed their chips in for a player who, while promising, isn't lifting the roster out of the basement. Unless Queen turns into a star fast, or the team finds a miracle turnaround, that trade already feels like a massive overreach. Nuggets. The Nuggets' biggest weakness is generating steals, the same issue as the Hornets. They average just 7 per game, which ranks 27th in the league. Only 3 teams are worse. That low number puts them near the bottom in forcing turnovers, a major red flag for a team with championship goals. Nikola Jokic leads the roster with 1.5 steals per game. That's a problem. He's the center, and when your center is leading the team in steals, it means the guards and wings aren't creating pressure. Jamal Murray is next at 1.1, then Peyton Watson at 1, and after that, it dips below 1. Bruce Brown, Christian Brown, and Aaron Gordon all average 0.8. None of the starting perimeter players crack even 1.2 steals. That means there's little ball pressure, no passing lane disruption, and almost no live ball turnovers being created. This team doesn't have a high volume disruptor. No one hits even 1.7 steals. The lack of activity isn't just a stat quirk, it directly limits fast break chances and easy buckets. Without someone who can consistently create chaos on the perimeter, Denver has one of the flattest steal profiles in the league. Bucks. The Bucks' biggest weakness is free throw shooting. They shoot just 70.7% from the line, the lowest mark in the entire league. No other team is worse, and it shows in close games and late possessions when free points matter most. Giannis leads the team in attempts with 10.3 per game, but he shoots only 63.6%. That alone pulls the team. Average down significantly. Then there's Bobby Portis, shooting 68.8, and Miles Turner at 71.4. Both key rotation players adding to the problem. Cole Anthony is even lower, hitting just 55% on 1 attempt per game. Gary Trent is at 73.9, and Kyle Kuzma, despite drawing over 3 fouls per game, sits at 76.2. Solid, but still underwhelming for a wing. AJ Green and Jericho Sims both shoot in the mid-70s, but none take enough attempts to shift the needle. Ryan Rollins shoots 78.3 on moderate volume, making him their most efficient, but even he falls short of the 80% mark. With no elite free throw shooter and several regulars struggling, this team lives at the bottom of the league in efficiency from the line. Jazz. The Jazz's biggest weakness is turnovers. They average 17.1 per game, the most in the entire league. No team gives the ball away more, and the margin isn't close. That many empty possessions directly cut into their scoring chances and hand the other team fast break points almost every night. Keontae. George leads the team with 3.5 turnovers per game while playing over 33 minutes. That's a huge number for a starting guard. Walker Kessler and Yusuf Nurkic combined for 5.9. Just between the two of them, that's an entire quarter of giveaways from the center position alone. Then come the young guard. Isaiah Collier averages 2.5 turnovers in only 22 minutes. Walter Clayton adds 1.4 in under 16. Ace Bailey throws in another 1.3. High minute or not, these guards are giving up the ball at a high rate. Even Laurie, who's usually stable, can't balance it out with 1.3 per game. Almost every major player on the roster turns it over at least once. With this many mistakes spread across so many positions, turnovers are clearly the biggest issue holding the Jazz back. Clippers. The Clippers' biggest weakness is age. Their rotation leans heavily on players in their mid-30s or older, with no young core in sight. James Harden is 36 and still their lead playmaker. Kawhi Leonard is 34 and the franchise star. Bradley Beal is 32, Bogdan is 33, and Nicholas Batum is 36. Chris Dunn adds another 31-year-old to the mix. Their front court isn't any younger. Brook Lopez is 37 and Zubac is 28. That's their center rotation. Most teams have young, athletic bigs. The Clippers have 2 guys pushing or passing 30. The rest of the roster is packed with late 20s players like John Collins, Derrick Jones Jr., and Jordan Miller. A few younger names exist: Kobe Sanders at 23, Jamil Telfort at 24, and Giannis Conan Niederhauser at 22. But none of them are key pieces right now. The balance is clear. They have more players over 33 than they have under 23. The leadership, scoring, and defense all come from players well into the back half of their careers. With no emerging star and no athletic core developing underneath, the Clippers are built on a clock that's ticking loud. The Pistons' biggest weakness is fouling, and no one does it more. They commit 23.4 fouls per game, the highest in the league. That number leads directly to easy points for opponents, constant stoppages, and defensive breakdowns across the board. Cade Cunningham leads the team with 3.6 fouls per game. That's your primary ball handler, and he's committing nearly 4 fouls every night. Then look at the front court. Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Duren both rack up 3.3. Your 2 starting bigs are constantly in foul trouble, which wrecks paint defense and forces rotation shuffle. It doesn't stop there. Ausar Thompson adds 3 fouls a game. Tobias Harris commits 2.8. Duncan Robinson and Ronald Holland each chip in 2.5. That's 6 core players picking up at least 2.5 fouls every game, spread across all positions. It adds up fast, and it shows on the other end. Opponents are shooting 28.3 free throws per game. That's a direct result of Detroit's foul-heavy play. With this many players contributing to the problem, fouling isn't just a weakness, it defines how this team is losing games. Wizards. The Wizards' biggest weakness is winning games. They've won just 2 and lost 16, giving them the lowest winning percentage in the conference at .111. No other team is even close to that level of losing. They're already 13 games behind the first seed, which shows how far off they are from any competitive tier. At home, they're 1-6. On the road, they're 1-10. They can't win anywhere. Whether it's on their own floor or away, the outcome is almost always the same. Their division record is 1-12. Conference record, also 1-12. They're losing to the teams they see the most, badly and repeatedly. The point differential is negative 15.2. That's the worst in the conference, meaning they're not just losing, they're getting blown out. In their last 10 games, they've won once. They're currently on another losing streak, and every sign points to more ahead. Even the other bottom-tier teams, like the Nets, Pacers, and Hornets, have managed more wins. The Wizards have the fewest wins in the conference, and every stat backs it up. Winning is clearly their biggest issue. Sixers. The Sixers' biggest weakness right now is the health of Joel Embiid. He's missed 8 straight games with a right knee issue, and even when cleared to play, he's under strict limitations, minute caps, and no back-to-backs. That kind of restriction on your franchise player throws off everything: rhythm, rotations, and game plan. Without Embiid, the team leans heavily on Tyrese Maxey and others to carry the offense. Although he's been amazing, that's a huge ask. His absence removes scoring, spacing, rim protection, rebounding, and defensive presence all at once. The team struggles to replace any of it because there's no one on the roster who replicates his skill set. Even when he's available, there's always a question mark. Can he play that night? How long? Will he make it through the full game? That constant uncertainty limits how high this team can aim. It's hard to plan around a star you can't count on to be there consistently. If the situation continues, the Sixers may have to treat this as a bridge year. Without a fully available Embiid, they're no longer a contender. They're a team trying to survive the regular season, and that changes everything. Magic. The Magic's biggest weakness is three-point shooting. They rank 27th in the league in threes made, hitting just 11.4 per game. Only 3 teams make fewer, which puts them firmly in the bottom tier for outside scoring. Not a single player on the roster averages even 2 threes a night. Tristan da Silva leads with 1.9. Jalen Suggs follows at 1.8, and Desmond Bain is at 1.6. After that, it drops to players like Franz at 1.5 and Paolo at just 0.9. That's extremely low for a team's top scorers. Even their high-minute creators don't stretch the floor with volume. Paolo and Franz both take double-digit field goal attempts per game, but barely make 1 3 each. That limits spacing and shrinks the offense. Other players, like Anthony Black and Wendell Carter, hover around 1 3 per game as well. There's no high-volume sniper on the roster. No player makes 2.5 or more per game. Even the efficient shooters aren't turning it into deep ball output. With no floor spacer to lean on, the Magic struggle mightily from beyond the arc every night. Suns. The Suns' biggest weakness is defensive rebound. They're ranked 28th in the entire league, averaging just 30.3 defensive rebounds per game. That's only better than 2 other teams. The league average isn't even close to that low. And when you're grouped with the bottom of the barrel, it's not a coincidence anymore. It's a trend. The roster's not built to clean the glass either. Only one guy on the team averages more than 4.5 defensive rebounds per game, and it's Mark Williams with 5.8. But he's only played in 17 games, so he's not even anchoring the stat regularly. After him, it drops off fast. Wings and guards are being forced to crash the boards way too often. Devin Booker, Colin Gillespie, and Grayson Allen are all near the top of the team in defensive rebounds. That's not a good thing. It usually means the bigs aren't doing their jobs. Speaking of bigs, even their rotation centers like Oso Ighodaro and Nick Richards are pulling in under 3 a game. That's just not going to cut it. This team needs a serious shift in how they secure rebounds on the defense end. Bulls. The Bulls' biggest weakness is defensive consistency. They allow more points in the paint than any team in the league, giving up nearly 56 a night. In the last 3 games, that number jumped to 68. Against New Orleans, they let in 78 paint points. That's not about size, it's about effort. The rotations are slow, help arrives late, and guys just aren't physical enough when opponents drive in. It happens night after night, and it's not improving. Rebounding's not any better. They're sitting at 18th in rebounding percentage, and they allow 18.1 second chance points per game. That's the second worst mark in the league. The issue isn't that they can't rebound, it's that they don't rebound when it counts. They lose physical battles, give up long rebound, and just don't finish defensive possessions. Those missed rebounds become extra scoring chances, killing any momentum they build on defense. The worst part, these problems show up against everyone, not just top teams. Even in games they should control, the same habits break down. Now the front office might need to step in, because this team's style just isn't built to hold up long term. Raptors. The Raptors' biggest weakness is their big man depth. Jakob Poeltl is the only true center on the roster. Behind him, just Sandro Mamukelashvili, who's listed as a forward, and doesn't play like a traditional rim protector. That's it. 2 names total at center, and only one of them actually fits the role. The power forwards don't help much either. Scotty Barnes and Colin Murray-Boyles are the main options, but neither one is built to anchor the paint. Barnes is 6'8", Murray-Boyles is 6'7", and both play more like wings than bigs. Neither brings shot blocking or size you'd want at center, and most of the roster is made up of guards and wings. Players like Quickly, Shed, Dick, Barrett, Agbaji, and Ingram make up the bulk of the team. Outside of Poeltl, there's not a single 7-footer on the roster. If Pirtle's unavailable, there's no rim protector left, no second true center, no physical anchor on defense. Just small ball options and undersized backups like Mamukelashvili, Murray-Boyles, and Mogbo. They're forwards, being asked to hold down the paint. Based on the depth chart, Toronto's front court is one of the thinnest in the league. Rockets. The Rockets' biggest weakness right now is the lack of a true point guard with Fred VanVleet hurt. Amen Thompson is listed as the starting point guard, but his numbers show 5.3 assists and 2.4 turnovers per game. That's fine for a hybrid wing, but not what you want from the guy running your offense full time. Behind him, it's Aaron Holiday, who's playing limited minutes and isn't known for running teams. The depth chart even lists Kevin Durant as the backup shooting guard, which says a lot. When a forward has to slide over and help with guard duties, it shows how thin the backcourt really is. And it's not just about depth, it's about playmaking. Alperen Sengun, the team's center, leads the roster in assists at 6.9 per game. He's the offensive hub, not Thompson. That tells you exactly where the creation's coming from. Reed Shepherd, the sophomore shooting guard, is 3rd in assists. That's helpful, but not ideal. The roster doesn't feature any traditional floor generals. No one else cracks 5 assists per game. With VanVleet out, there's no natural organizer left to stabilize the offense. Spurs. The Spurs' biggest weakness right now is Wemby's availability. Last season, through 46 games, he was elite, averaging over 24 points, 11 boards, nearly 4 assists, and a league-best 3.8 blocks per game. But after the All-Star break, he was shut down with a right shoulder blood clot. That ended his rookie season early, taking away San Antonio's best two-way presence just as momentum was building. Fast forward to this season, he was cleared to return in July and open the year back on the court. But then came another blow. On November 14th, Wemby strained his left calf against Golden State. He's now out indefinitely. The team hasn't given a return timeline, and he's already missed at least 7 straight games. At the time I'm making this, Without him, the Spurs lose their defensive anchor and offensive mismatch. Their defense takes a massive hit, and they're forced into smaller lineups with limited rim protection. And when you zoom out, the pattern is concerning. 2 straight years with significant injuries. One a blood clot, now a leg strain. With Wemby being the clear centerpiece of everything the Spurs are building, long-term availability just became the biggest question they face. Pacers. The Pacers' biggest weakness right now is the loss of Tyrese Halliburton. He tore his right Achilles in Game 7 of the final, and he's out for the entire season. That single injury didn't just remove their point guard, it completely dismantled their offensive engine. Without Halliburton's creation, the Pacers have fallen into isolation sets, broken spacing, and zero rhythm. The team that used to thrive on ball movement just doesn't exist anymore. And it's not just him. Other key rotation players have missed time too, so the Pacers haven't had any continuity. As of now, they've only won 4 games and dropped 16. They've gone from finals team to bottom feeder in a matter of weeks. Offensively, they're one of the worst in the league. Defensively, they've dropped off too. The identity is gone. The 5 out. Attack and perimeter motion have vanished. Without creators or shooters to keep that style alive, Indiana's been stuck with a stripped-down version of their former self. It's a shell of last year's team. Halliburton might return next year, and that'll help. But unless the roster gets retooled around him, this collapse won't be easy to reverse. Cavaliers. The Cavaliers' biggest weakness is how underwhelming their defensive rebounding has been. They rank just 22nd in the league, averaging 31.6 defensive rebounds per game. That's a bottom third number, and based on the roster, it shouldn't be anywhere near that low. Evan Mobley grabs 6.6 defensive boards per game. Jarrett Allen adds 5.2. That duo alone combines for nearly 12 per night, which is exactly what you want from a front court. But somehow, the team total still lags way behind. That shows something's not connecting. Strong individual stats aren't translating to team-level success. Their backcourt isn't awful, but it's not elite either. Donovan Mitchell gets 4 a game, DeAndre Hunter pulls down 3.9, and Lonzo Ball chips in with 3.4. Solid? Sure, but not enough to push the Cavs into the top rebounding tier. The real problem? Depth. The players not shown clearly aren't contributing much on the glass. When your starters all rebound well, but the team ranks that low, it means the bench drop-off is massive. With this kind of talent, the Cavs shouldn't be anywhere near 22nd in defensive rebounds. Hawks. The Hawks' biggest weakness is rebounding, similar to the Cavs, but this time overall rebound. They rank 25th in the league in total rebounds, pulling in just 42 per game. That's bottom 6 in the entire NBA, right there with teams that have some of the weakest front courts. For a squad trying to compete, that's a big issue. Their defensive rebounding tells the same story, 32.1 per game, putting them in the same neighborhood as the Kings, Bucks, and Clippers, all of whom rank near the bottom. Jalen Johnson is the only one doing serious work on the glass. He averages 8.7 defensive rebounds and nearly 10 total. After him, it drops fast. Okung Wu gets 5.9, then it's guards like Dyson Daniels and Porzingis, both at 4.3. Once you get past the top 2 or 3 rebounders, it's basically silence. Daniels, a guard, ranks 3rd on the team in defensive rebounds. That's never what you want. Meanwhile, the centers aren't controlling the boards. Porzingis isn't even close to 10 rebounds per game. Most of the rotation, including wings and bigs, rebounds at a low rate. It's clear why they sit near the bottom. They just don't have enough guys cleaning the glass. Kings. The Kings' biggest weakness is being stuck between timelines. Old, expensive, and not good. They've started the season with one of the worst records in the league, and the numbers back it up. Offense is inefficient, defense is broken, and their net rating predicts a bad finish. What makes it worse is the roster construction. DeMar and Westbrook are still playing big minutes. Westbrook is 37, and the roster skews heavily toward veterans. That means high salaries, low upside, and little flexibility. LaVine and Sabonis are vets at this point too. They're not young enough to rebuild easily, but also not good enough to compete. Their best option would be to reset around Murray and any young assets they can find, but they've committed so much of their roster to veteran contracts that it's hard to pivot. There's no clear direction. They're not rebuilding, they're not contending. They're just stuck. If they keep going like this, they're headed for a worst-case scenario. Too old to grow, too flawed to win. Nets. The Nets' biggest weakness is scoring. They rank dead last in the NBA at 108.4 points per game. That's 30th out of 30. No team in the league puts up fewer points, and the numbers make it obvious why. Michael Porter is the only one averaging more than 25, sitting 24.3. After him, it's Cam Thomas with 21.4. Then it just collapses. Nick Claxton and Noah Clowney are in the low teens, and everyone else is stuck in single digits. Williams, Tyrese Martin, Terrence Mann, Igor Demon, and Day'Ron Sharpe, all under 10. That's half the rotation offering bench-level scoring at starter-level minutes. Guys like Mann and Martin are playing over 20 minutes a night and barely scraping together 8 points. Igor Demon's playing 22 minutes and still under 9. It's not just a talent issue, it's a production issue. The bench has zero punch, and the starters can't carry that much weight every game. This team has no reliable third option, no offensive depth, and no volume scores outside the top 2. That's exactly why they're 30th in scoring. Trailblazers, the Blazers' biggest weakness is field goal percentage. They rank 27th in the NBA, shooting just 44.3% from the field. That's bottom 4 in the entire league. They take plenty of shots, over 93 per game, but only make 41 of them. High volume with low efficiency is a recipe for bad offense, and that's exactly what the numbers show. Most of the rotation shoots under 50%. Denny leads the team with 47.6%, but he takes nearly 17 shots a game, so even his decent number doesn't lift the team much. Jeremy Grant, Shaedon Sharpe, and Drew Holiday all take double-digit shots, but sit around 44%. That trio is high usage, low efficiency. Centers like Robert Williams and Duop Reath are efficient, but they barely shoot 3 or fewer attempts per game. Their percentages don't move the needle. Donovan Clingan is close to average at 49.3, but he only takes 8 shots. The problem gets worse with guys like Blake Wesley and Toumani Camara, both stuck in the low 40s. When this many players shoot poorly, there's no way the team can avoid a bottom-tier field goal percentage. LeBron James. Over the years, a few franchises stood in the way of his dominance, and they didn't just beat him once. The San Antonio Spurs crushed LeBron's Cleveland run in a 4-game sweep back in 2007, then smacked down the Miami Heat in 5 games during 2014. With a finals record of 5 wins and 11 losses against San Antonio, it was clear their elite passing, deep experience, and lockdown defense disrupted his rhythm every time. Then came the Golden State Warriors. They didn't just win, they kept doing it. In 2015, they won in 6. In 2017, they finished it in 5. And in 2018, a clean 4-game sweep. Golden State's insane spacing, 3-point shooting, and that little addition named Kevin Durant buried LeBron's chances repeatedly. He went 7 and 15 against them in finals game. Dallas had its moment too. In 2011, Dirk and company outshot and outsmarted LeBron's Heat in 6 games, relying on killer pick-and-roll sets and punishing off-ball movement. Even in the regular season, Denver quietly became a problem, handing him more losses than wins. Then Minnesota sent him home early in 2025, ending the Lakers' playoff hopes in round 1. Consistent depth, floor spacing, and coaching schemes have repeatedly cracked the LeBron code. Michael Jordan, the Detroit Pistons, gave him real problems. From 1988 to 1990, they knocked his Bulls out of the playoffs 3 straight years. The Jordan rules were brutal. Double teams, hard fouls, and smart rotations forced him into tough shots and constant fatigue. Isaiah Thomas led a rugged group that used physicality and deep rosters to drag every series into a fight. Jordan eventually broke through in 1991, but not before going 10 and 12 in playoff games against them. The Boston Celtics got to him early too. In 1986, Bird and McHale led a sweep, winning 3 straight. Jordan scored a ridiculous 63 in one game, but that wasn't enough. The Celtics played smarter, shared the ball better, and used veteran experience to keep Chicago off balance. The Bulls weren't ready, and Boston made sure they knew it. Even the Milwaukee Bucks handed Jordan issues. He went 4 and 4 against them in playoff games, one of the few teams with a balanced postseason record against him. Not a powerhouse, but not an easy out either. Cleveland had moments too. He still won 14 out of 20, but those games were tight and physical. The Knicks pushed him hard with size and intensity. Utah, in 2 straight finals, forced 6 games each time. Jordan's greatness was real, but so were the teams that exposed gaps before he closed them. Steph Curry, one of the greatest shooters in NBA history, but even he hasn't dodged defeat. The Cleveland Cavaliers, led by LeBron James, were the first to deliver a major blow. In 2016, after being up 3 games to 1 in the finals, Golden State lost 3 straight and watched Cleveland snatch the championship. That loss remains one of the most painful collapses in league history. The Toronto Raptors followed in 2019. With Kevin Durant injured and Klay Thompson going down mid-series, the Warriors fell in 6 games. Toronto's physical defense, Kawhi Leonard's consistency, and their control of the pace proved too much. Curry averaged over 30 points, but the supporting cast couldn't keep up. The Los Angeles Lakers added to the list in 2021, knocking the Warriors out in the play-in game. Curry dropped 37, but the Lakers clamped down late and ended their postseason hopes. Then came 2023. The Lakers again stood in the way, this time eliminating Golden State in the second round. Curry struggled with double teams, and the Lakers' size created problems across the board. That series showed how much the Warriors rely on spacing and rhythm, and how quickly it can break under relentless pressure. Even all-time greats run into smarter game plans, mismatched rosters, and fatigue. For Curry, it's never about one bad night. It's about those rare times when great teams locked in, played disciplined defense, and didn't let him breathe. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, Kevin Durant. The Miami Heat were first to strike in a major way. In 2012, Durant's Thunder lost the finals in 5 games. Miami's defense forced tough looks, and their big three overpowered Oklahoma City's younger core. It was Durant's first finals and a sharp learning curve. Then came the Memphis Grizzlies, physical, patient, and defensively relentless. They gave Durant all kinds of problems. Across playoff matchups, he went 9-10 against them, one of the only teams with a winning postseason record over him. Their ability to control tempo and keep games in the half court hurt his rhythm every time. Golden State delivered the most crushing loss before he joined them. In 2016, Durant's Thunder led the Warriors 3-1 in the Western Conference Final and still lost 4 straight defeats, capped by Golden State's pace, shooting, and defensive switches, ended Oklahoma City's run and changed the league forever. Fast forward to Brooklyn in 2021. Durant played brilliantly, but Milwaukee's defense and depth won the 7-game series. Then in 2019, as a Warrior, he fell to the Raptors in the finals, a rare finals loss for him. Durant's playoff elimination game record, 6 wins and 10 losses. In those do-or-die moments, he's been more often out than in. Whether it was Miami's aggression, Memphis grit, or Golden State's system, the trend's clear. Durant's faced elite defensive teams that knew how to wear him down. Kobe Bryant. The San Antonio Spurs were the team that beat him more than any other. Their disciplined schemes and veteran depth made Kobe work for every shot, with Tim Duncan anchoring the paint and guys like Ginobili and Parker applying constant pressure. The Lakers were repeatedly outmaneuvered in key series. It's the only long-term matchup where Kobe finished with more losses than wins. Then in 2011, Dallas delivered a shock. The Mavericks swept the Lakers in 4 straight games in the second round. Dirk Nowitzki was on fire, but it was their ball movement and spacing that really shut things down. Kobe couldn't get into rhythm, and the Lakers had no answer. Phoenix, huge problem in the mid-2000s. The Suns knocked out the Lakers in back-to-back first rounds in 2006 and 2007. Steve Nash ran the floor like a machine, and their quick tempo exposed LA's slower half-court tendencies. Kobe's scoring wasn't enough when his team couldn't match pace or rotation. The Pistons shut everything down in 2004. That finals loss wasn't even close. Detroit's defense, led by Ben Wallace and Tayshaun Prince, collapsed on Kobe and suffocated LA's offense. He had no breathing room. Then in 2008, Boston's defense overwhelmed him in the finals. Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and company rotated perfectly, walled off drives, and made every possession a grind. Kobe eventually got revenge, but that first Celtics series showed exactly how elite defenses could lock him down. Larry Bird. The Detroit Pistons were the biggest challenge he faced in the East. By 1988, the rivalry peaked when Detroit knocked Boston out in the Eastern Conference Finals, winning 4-2. That loss was more than just a series. It marked a real shift in power. The Pistons' tough defense, led by Isaiah Thomas and Dennis Rodman, wore Boston down. It was physical, calculated, and effective. Bird's Celtics had a 12-12 playoff record against the Pistons, completely even. That tells the story right there. These weren't blowouts or flukes. They were battles, and Detroit found ways to exploit Boston's aging core and limit offensive flow. Earlier exits hurt too. In 1982, Boston lost in the playoffs without reaching the finals. Then in 1983, they won only 2 games before getting bounced, clearly falling short of expectations. Those years didn't get as much attention as the finals runs, but they mattered. They showed that roster issues, fatigue, or matchup problems could knock out even elite teams early. And while he never lost a playoff series to Michael Jordan, that doesn't erase the fact that Bird's Celtics racked up 65 playoff losses across 12 postseason runs. Not every year ended in glory. When Bird's teams lost, it was usually because they ran into smart physical defenses or failed to adjust. Detroit just did both, and even in years without a clear rival, Boston's depth and durability weren't always enough to close out. Magic Johnson. The first major blow came in 1983. His Lakers were swept in the finals by the Philadelphia 76ers, 4-0. That series wasn't close. Julius Erving, Moses Malone, and Philly's defense completely stalled Showtime. The Lakers couldn't run. Magic couldn't create freely. Every possession felt like it was sinking in quicksand. Then came the Boston Celtics. In 1984, the finals went to 7 games, but Boston closed the door. Larry Bird, Dennis Johnson, and Kevin McHale disrupted LA's pace and made the Lakers grind. It was one of Magic's most competitive losses, but a loss all the same. Houston wasn't as flashy, but they were a problem. In 1981, the Rockets took out Magic's Lakers in the first round. In 1986, they did it, again in the conference finals. Hakeem and Ralph Sampson created matchup nightmare, bigs who could score and protect the rim. Bad news for Showtime. Then came the Pistons. In 1989, Detroit swept the Lakers in the finals. The bad boys threw bodies at Magic and shut down the fast break with pure physicality. There was no room to run. In 1990, the Phoenix Suns knocked out the Lakers in the second round. Then, in 1991, Michael Jordan's Bulls ended Magic's finals career with a 5-game series win. Jordan took over late, and Chicago's defense closed every window. Magic lost 9 finals games to Boston, Philadelphia, and Chicago. He won 5 titles, but those defeats, they were earned. Nikola Jokic, despite all the brilliance, his playoff record has clear patterns of defeat. In 2020, the Lakers beat the Nuggets 4-1. LeBron and Anthony Davis pushed Denver off the floor with size, transition scoring, and tight defense. That series exposed the limits of Denver's defense and Jokic's support cast. Then in 2021, Phoenix swept them, 4 straight losses. The Suns blitzed Denver with spacing, quick ball movement, and Chris Paul pick and rolls. Denver couldn't match up on the perimeter or protect the paint. Golden State did the same thing in 2022, another series loss, 4-1. Their switching and shooting punished every slow rotation. Jokic put up big numbers, but the rest of the team crumbled. In 2019, Portland beat Denver in 7. That series showed how elite guard play and shot making could tilt a tight matchup. Denver had home court, but couldn't close. By 2024, Minnesota knocked them out in 7. Big, athletic, and organized, Minnesota limited Jokic's touches and forced others to beat them. Then in 2025, Oklahoma City repeated the formula. 4-3 series win for the Thunder. Jokic had 40-point games, but it didn't matter. He's lost 6 playoff series, mostly to teams with elite defense, deep rotations, or both. Even when Jokic dominates, those losses underline the fact that MVP play doesn't guarantee series wins, especially when facing long, switch-heavy rosters that make everything harder. Tim Duncan. For all the winning, there were cracks in the wall. The Los Angeles Lakers were the one team that beat him more than he beat them. In playoff matchups, the Spurs had 16 wins and 18 losses. Kobe and Shaq created problems no Spurs scheme could patch. The Lakers' spacing and elite wing scoring forced San Antonio's slower rotations to collapse. In 2000, the Spurs were the defending champs until Duncan's knee gave out. He missed the playoffs, and Phoenix sent them packing in round 1. The Suns stole that series, handing San Antonio a rare first-round exit. Without Duncan, the whole system fell apart. Then came Memphis in 2011, an 8 seed. They stunned San Antonio in 6 games. The Grizzlies hadn't even won a playoff series before that, but they bullied the Spurs with defense and rebound and closed them out. Detroit didn't win a full series against Duncan, but they were always a grind. Big bodies inside, slow it down play, and enough defense to make every game uncomfortable. Duncan had to work for every bucket when they met. Those losses weren't flukes. They came from elite wings, dominant front courts, or just sheer attrition. Out of 48 playoff series, Duncan only lost 13. But the ones he did lose, they came when spacing collapsed, when injuries hit, or when someone else imposed their will harder than the Spurs could resist. Wilt Chamberlain. As unstoppable as he seemed, the Boston Celtics were his recurring brick wall. In 1964, Wilt reached the finals with the Warriors, only to lose 4 games to 1 to Boston. Then came 1968, a brutal collapse. His 76ers had a 3-1 lead over Boston and lost the next 3. Then in 1969, now with the Lakers, and alongside Jerry West and Elgin Baylor, he lost to Boston again. That finals went 7 games. The Celtics were underdogs. They still won. The Celtics beat Chamberlain's teams in nearly every big moment. In 8 playoff matchups against Bill Russell, Wilt won only once. Russell's defensive positioning and team structure constantly absorbed Wilt's scoring and erased his support. But it wasn't just Boston. In the early 60s, Wilt's Warriors were bounced early by teams like the St. Louis Hawks. These weren't title-contending losses, but they kept him from reaching the big stage. Even when he had super teams, like the Lakers in 1969, his team couldn't seal the deal. That loss, against an aging Celtics squad, still defines part of his legacy. In elimination games, Wilt's record was 12-11, slightly above even. For a player that dominant, those margins mattered. His playoff record, 88 wins, 72 losses, shows success. But the defeats, they came when the pressure was highest, often with titles on the line, and with Boston across the floor. Giannis, the Toronto Raptors, were the first real wall. In 2017, they beat the Bucks in 6. Then in 2019, they knocked Milwaukee out again. This time, in the Eastern Conference Finals, after the Bucks took a 2-0 lead, Kawhi Leonard slowed down Giannis with tight one-on-one defense, while Toronto's help defenders packed the paint and forced outside shots. The Raptors closed the series in 6. Then came Boston. In 2018, the Celtics beat Milwaukee in 7. Their switchable defense and deep scoring options forced Giannis into tough angles and made the Bucks' offense predictable. It wasn't the last time Boston would give Milwaukee problems. Miami? That was a different level of disruption. In 2020, the Heat eliminated the top-seeded Bucks in 5. Then, in 2023, they did it again, this time as an 8 seed. Jimmy Butler dominated late-game situations while Bam Adebayo contained the interior. Milwaukee had no answers in crunch time. In 2025, the Indiana Pacers delivered a first-round knockout. Tyrese Halliburton's game-winning layup in overtime ended the series. Damian Lillard's injury during the series left Giannis without offensive backup, and Milwaukee couldn't recover. He's now lost 8 of 16 playoff series. Most of those defeats came from teams with elite defense, smart help rotations, or clutch scorers who could close games. Giannis dominates most matchups. But when his team can't shoot, can't stay healthy, or can't match poise, even his stat lines aren't enough. Shaq, one of the most dominant forces ever, but even he racked up some painful defeats. The first major one, Houston crushed Orlando in the 1995 finals. Shaq held his own, but Hakeem took over and swept them 4-0. That loss stuck for years. Then came Indiana, early in his Magic days. Their gritty defense and sharp execution kept him in check, even when he was putting up huge stats. It didn't always lead to a series loss, but they were constant roadblocks. Later, the San Antonio Spurs proved to be a real thorn. Shaq's playoff battles with them ended dead even, 15-15. That means they beat him just as often, no matter how big his numbers were. In 2004, Detroit shut down the Lakers stars and took the finals, 4-1. That one stung. The Pistons relied on team play and defense, not superstars. Then the Suns cooked the Lakers in 2008. By then, Shaq was older, and the firepower just wasn't there. Miami's first-round exit in 2007 was another sweep, a reminder that time waits for no center. Across his career, Shaq got swept around 6 times, early and late. Strong team systems, elite defense, and aging legs caught up. Even legends aren't immune to tough exits. Kareem. Even with 20 seasons and 6 titles, the losses told their own story. The Philadelphia 76ers were a major thorn, piling up 9 playoff wins against him. Their physical defense and balanced rosters made them a problem from his Bucks days to his final runs with the Lakers. The New York Knicks gave him trouble too. 4 playoff wins came from smart schemes and strong interior play, especially in those early 70s Eastern battles. Then there were the Golden State Warriors, who notched 10 playoff wins. Even when Kareem's teams advanced, Golden State's tempo and spacing often disrupted his rhythm and forced tough possessions. Before joining them, the Lakers had already beaten Kareem's Bucks 6 times in the playoffs. They packed the paint and doubled him hard. And the Boston Celtics took down his Bucks in the 1974 finals. That series went 7 games, and Boston's depth and half-court execution made the difference. Then in the 80s, the Celtics and Sixers both beat Kareem-led Lakers squads in the finals. These teams succeeded with smart passing, front court depth, and constant pressure. The pattern stayed the same. Deep, balanced teams with size up front and playoff experience chipped away at Kareem's dominance. Some slowed him with double teams. Some ran the floor to exhaust him. Others just played smarter. No matter how legendary the numbers, those playoff defeats made sure Kareem's path to greatness was anything but easy. Bill Russell, The man won 11 titles, but there were still moments when even his Celtics came up short. The most glaring, 1958. The St. Louis Hawks beat Boston 4-2 in the finals. Bob Pettit lit them up, and that loss stands as the only time Russell lost in the championship round. That series was rare because almost every year, Boston walked away with the trophy. Then came 1967. The Celtics were knocked out before the finals by the Philadelphia 76ers, led by Wilt Chamberlain. That loss was a big deal. It was one of only 2 seasons where Russell didn't make the finals, and the only one during his prime, when a Chamberlain-led team actually got the better of Boston. Now, he still lost 25 total finals games. So even in years where the Celtics won the title, there were battles. Nobody swept through him, not once. That's what makes it even more impressive. Through 165 playoff games, his teams were never swept, ever. And sure, Wilt grabbed headlines with monster numbers, but there were playoff runs where his teams beat Russell. The difference was, Russell's squads usually had the defense, the chemistry, and the clutch execution. But in those rare moments, like against the Hawks or the 67 Sixers, even Bill Russell's Celtics got outmatched. Those defeats were few, but they showed his dominance wasn't untouchable. Dirk Nowitzki. For all the greatness, there were plenty of playoff defeats. The worst, 2007. Dallas had the best record, Dirk was MVP, and still the 8th seed Warriors knocked them out in 6 games. That loss rewrote expectations. Then there were the Spurs. San Antonio eliminated Dirk's Mavericks more than once, starting back in 2001 and again in 2014. Tim Duncan and that disciplined defense gave Dirk fits, especially in the paint. Before his redemption, the 2006 finals ended in heartbreak. Miami took the title in 6, with D. Wade torching Dallas in crunch time. That series flipped momentum hard. It didn't stop there. Between 2003 and 2015, the Mavericks had a string of early exits. First rounds, second rounds, didn't matter. 1 year after the title, they got the swept. Some years, they just ran out of steam. Others, they collapsed under pressure. Quick guards, perimeter-heavy teams, and tight defensive matchups hurt Dirk's squad time after time. Golden State used pace to shred Dallas's slow rotations. The Spurs beat them with balance and experience. Even after strong regular seasons, the Mavs couldn't always deliver. Dirk lost 76 playoff games and dropped 14 series. One championship defined his legacy, but those defeats shaped the story. His playoff resume was filled with peaks, but just as many valleys. Oscar Robertson. For all the numbers, the playoff defeats stacked up early and often. His Royals teams just couldn't break through, especially when running into Boston. The Celtics knocked Cincinnati out multiple times in the 60s, including a 7-game series in 1963. Even with Oscar posting near triple doubles, Boston's depth, defense, and experience sealed those outcomes. Later, with Milwaukee, he finally got a title in 1971. But 3 years later came his most painful loss, the 1974 final. That series against the Celtics went 7 games, and Boston took it. Kareem was dominant, but the Celtics' clutch play and tough schemes wore Milwaukee down. A late shot clock violation from Oscar in Game 6 turned into one of the series' biggest turning points. Before that, in Cincinnati, his playoff exits were constant. First-round losses in 1961, 62, and other years showed how far his teams were from title contention. Oscar did his part, but the Royals lacked the pieces to match up with powerhouse teams. In total, he went 46-40 in playoff games. That's a lot of close calls and short runs. The theme was always the same: Boston standing in the way or his own team falling short. The stats stayed elite. The trophies didn't. Even one of the game's most complete guards couldn't carry flawed rosters past the league's best. Kawhi Leonard, 2 rings, 2 finals MVPs. And still, teams have figured him out in big moments. The Oklahoma City Thunder handed him 10 playoff losses, more than any team. Between their star duos and relentless offense, they pulled apart defenses and exposed Kawhi's teams in tight series. Then there's Dallas, 12 wins, but 10 losses. Luka Doncic and that high-octane offense kept pushing Kawhi's defenses into rotation nightmares. Even when Kawhi delivered offensively, Dallas found ways to win playoff games across multiple years. Golden State hit him with 5 playoff losses, including the 2017 sweep when Kawhi got hurt. That injury changed the whole tone of that series, and the Warriors took advantage. Miami also notched 5 wins against him, mostly during the LeBron-Wade era, using physical defense and late-game execution to close games. Houston and Utah chipped in with a few defeats too. Smaller sample, but their pace and spacing gave Kawhi's squads trouble. Injuries didn't help either. He missed major games in 2017 and 2023. That's 2 separate playoff exits with Kawhi sidelined. Add in at least 11 elimination games across his career, and it's clear Kawhi's been tested. He's elite, no doubt, but Oklahoma City, Dallas, and Golden State have beaten him multiple times, and Miami made their mark too. In the playoffs, even top-tier defenders like Kawhi can get picked apart by schemes, health setbacks, or just stars who show up. Karl Malone. He played 19 seasons, won 98 playoff games, and still never got a ring. The Chicago Bulls were the wall he could never climb. In 1997, Malone's Jazz lost 4 games to 2 in the final. A year later, same outcome, same opponent, same heartbreak. Michael Jordan and that Chicago dynasty stopped Malone twice at the doorstep with that Game 6 steal and jumper in 1998, basically slamming it shut. But it wasn't just the Bulls. The Western Conference had its share of heartbreak too. In the early 90s, teams like the Suns and Blazers bounced Utah before the finals even felt like a possibility. And in the late 80s, the Jazz were knocked out in round 1 again and again. It wasn't always Malone's fault. He'd put up big numbers, but the roster around him just couldn't keep up with deeper contenders. Then came 2004. Malone joined the Lakers for one last push. Shaq, Kobe, Peyton, Malone, the super team on paper. But Detroit had the defense and chemistry, and the Lakers fell 4 games to 1 in the finals. That was his last shot. 3 finals trips, 11 losses, no title. Malone's playoff record ended at 19 wins and 19 series losses. His greatness was never in question, but time and again, legendary opponents, team gaps, and brutal timing shut the door on his championship hopes. Kevin Garnett, 21 seasons, 1 title, and a long list of playoff exits. The Lakers were the biggest recurring nightmare. They knocked out his Timberwolves in 2003 and again in 2004, with stars like Shaq and Kobe Bryant outmatching Minnesota's top-heavy roster. Then came the Spurs. San Antonio sent Garnett home in the first round more than once. Their system, spacing, and defense exposed the Wolves' lack of depth. Dallas joined the party too. In the early 2000s, the Mavericks swept Minnesota with perimeter-heavy attacks that stretched Garnett's defense out of the paint. Later, it was Miami, with Boston and then Brooklyn. Garnett's squads lost to LeBron-led Heat teams in back-to-back seasons. And again, with the Nets. Miami's defense and shot-making buried him late in his career. The Timberwolves lost 5 first-round series in 6 years. Garnett played great, but his team couldn't keep up. The result? 17 playoff wins and 30 losses with Minnesota. That's brutal. In total, Garnett played in 26 playoff series and lost 13. He finished with 70 playoff wins and 73 losses. No matter how intense or skilled, Garnett's teams were constantly beaten by squads with more stars, better coaching, or deeper benches. The numbers don't lie. He was legendary, but the defeats stacked up, one tough series after another. James Harden, 16 straight playoff runs, and still, the losses have piled up in ways that define his legacy. The Warriors were his biggest nightmare. Golden State knocked Harden's teams out with a 7-16 record, including that brutal 4-3 loss in 2015 and another in 2019. Switching defenses, elite spacing, and Harden's ISO-heavy style didn't mix well when the lights got bright. Then there's the Lakers. 7 wins, but 9 losses, most notably in 2020, when the Rockets got bounced 4-1. Miami has also been a problem. Harden's record there, 3-8. Their physical defense and half-court control always gave his rhythm fits. Add Portland to the list too. They beat his Rockets in a 4-2 series where Damian Lillard hit the dagger. The elimination games say even more. Harden's teams are 10-16 when the season's on the line. That includes the loss to Milwaukee with Brooklyn in 2021 and Boston in Game 7 with Philly. Most recently, another Game 7 exit against the Nuggets with the Clippers. Through 31 series, Harden has lost more than he's won. Just 1 finals appearance with the Thunder in 2012 and never back since. His playoff defeats came from elite defenses, tight moments, and often his teams breaking down when it mattered most. The numbers aren't kind, and neither is the postseason. David Robinson, one of the greatest centers of all time, but the playoffs didn't always go his way. Before Tim Duncan arrived, Robinson's Spurs were bounced from the postseason again and again. The Phoenix Suns swept them 3-0 in 1992. That team ran the floor, spread the court, and made Robinson chase guards all series long. The Utah Jazz also had his number. In 1994, they took out San Antonio with Stockton and Malone running that relentless pick and roll. Then again in 1996, Utah won 4-2. Robinson's interior defense was elite, but the Jazz's spacing and execution constantly pulled him away from the rim. In 1995, it was the Rockets. Houston beat the Spurs 4-2 in the Western Conference Finals, and Hakeem outplayed Robinson in one of the most legendary big man battles ever. That one left a mark. Even earlier, Golden State stunned San Antonio in 1991, winning 3-1 in a huge first-round upset. And don't forget Portland in 1990. The Blazers took that series 4-3. Robinson played in 27 playoff series and lost 10 of them. That includes losses to nearly every top-tier Western team of the decade. His numbers stayed strong, but those early Spurs teams lacked the depth to survive long runs. Until Duncan arrived, the playoffs were a gauntlet. Robinson couldn't get through alone. Allen Iverson, one of the fiercest scorers the league's ever seen, but the playoff wall was always looming. His most iconic run? 2001. He dragged the Sixers to the finals, took Game 1 in LA, dropped 48, and stepped over Tyronn Lue. And then the Lakers won the next 4. Shaq, Kobe, and a loaded roster crushed that miracle ride. But that wasn't the first time. In 1999, Indiana swept Philly in the semifinal. Iverson's stats stayed up, but the Pacers' defense was too much. Then in 2002, Boston took out Philly in 5. Another year, another scoring title, and another early exit. Detroit didn't make it easier. In 2003, they beat Philly 4-2. 2 years later, same matchup, worse result, 4-1. That was peak Piston, swarming defense, unselfish ball, and no space for ISO-heavy attacks. After Philly, Iverson landed in Denver. In 2007, they lost 4-1 in round 1. In 2008, it got worse. The Lakers swept them. That was Iverson's final playoff series. He ended with 30 wins, 41 losses, 14 playoff series. Only 6 went his way. He always showed up, averaging nearly 30 in the postseason. But he faced deeper teams, sharper systems, and better balance. His legacy's carved in toughness and scoring, but the defeats came loud, clear, and often. Steve Nash. Despite being one of the most gifted passers to ever step on a court, Nash's playoff path was filled with brick walls, usually wearing black and silver. The San Antonio Spurs wrecked his teams over and over again, beating him 25 times while only losing 12. Every time Nash looked close to breaking through, the Spurs' defense and execution dragged his Suns back down. Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, and Manu Ginobili did not care how flashy the Suns looked. They just won. Then came the Sacramento Kings, who held the edge in playoff wins against Nash's squads, grabbing 11 to his 6. Their fluid offense and tempo often dismantled Phoenix's rhythm, especially in those gritty early 2000s matchups. Seattle didn't show up often, but in Nash's younger years, they still found time to hand him 3 losses out of 4. Gary Payton and Shawn Kemp weren't playing around. Even the Mavericks, a team Nash actually played for, handed him several postseason exits. That 6-6 playoff record with Dallas includes some painful eliminations. And the Lakers, they took 8 games off him, often led by the nightmare duo of Kobe Bryant and Shaq. Across 23 playoff series, Nash's teams lost 12. His brilliance was clear, but those playoff exits piled up. Chris Paul, one of the smartest floor generals ever, but his postseason track record, brutal. Across 15 playoff runs, Paul's teams have lost more series than they've won. 12 wins, 15 losses. The San Antonio Spurs were the first to spoil the party. Back in 2008, Paul and the Hornets went up 2-0 before dropping the next 4 out of 5. A theme was born. Fast forward to 2013, the Clippers stormed to a 2-0 lead against Memphis, only to lose in 6. The pattern just wouldn't die. 2015 might be the worst of it. The Clippers were up 3-1 on Houston, 3-1. Then came a collapse so complete, people still bring it up when talking about blown leads. It didn't stop there. In 2016, Portland got them after another 2-0 Clippers lead. Even when Paul finally made the finals in 2021, the Bucks took 4 straight after Phoenix started strong. 1 year later, Dallas did the exact same thing. Phoenix up 2-0, then face-planted in Game 7. By then, Paul had set an NBA record, the first player to lose 5 different playoff series after going up 2-0. In elimination games, he's 6-12. That's twice as many exits as wins. 1 finals trip, no rings, and way too many "what happened" moments. If you enjoyed this, I'm going to be posting a lot here. I would greatly appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching.